Welcome to Sic'Em365 Radio.
Brewer, looking for room on the opposite side. He's got his receiver. Touchdown! It's Snead! It's number 9, Taquan Thornton, I beg your pardon, on the reception.
Sic'Em365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Is a key piece. There's not a lot of depth. There's not a lot of competition at spots. And so I think the ability to bring depth so you can withstand injury. There's quite a bit of this guy's starting here, but he's the backup there, and he's also the backup here. And there's a lot of this moving on. And you like to have it to where I'm playing here and I'm backed up by a guy that's challenging my butt every day.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Dalton throws down the sideline. He's got Cooper. Touchdown, Dallas.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Well, good afternoon on an NFL Tuesday. Cowboys and Ravens play tonight. Des Bryant, who is back in the NFL, and the Cowboys ought to be some emotions, you would think, there. David Robinson, you may have seen him on occasion if you are on Twitter or you've followed much about Des Bryant or some of the receivers in the NFL. He's kind of he calls himself the wide receivers coach of the pros. He's worked with some former Baylor players as well, Emmanuel Sanders. And he will join us today at 3:30 on what he thinks this means to Des. One, just being back in the NFL. Also today, Grant Teaff on Fred Akers at 3:45. Jackson player, former Midway star, plays at Tulsa. Had a huge game in their win against Navy at 4. Mack Rhoades, 4:20. Mark Fannin, Franklin High School at 4:45 today in the 5 o'clock hour. David Hellman and John McClain, and a good chance we might get, and that's one of our stories today, Stephen F. Austin head coach Kyle Keller. Baylor men's basketball practicing right now, and I don't think they're going to have – they had a media session yesterday with Scott Drew. We played that. Just play somebody somewhere. And so I don't think he's available. SFA's Kyle Keller, who took the game. And SFA and Tarleton State, Billy Gillespie, former Baylor assistant coach, we know his story and his coaching ability. So Baylor men's basketball will have games on tomorrow night against Stephen F. Austin, the 15th against Tarleton State.
Yeah, it's look, SFA, if you're talking about a team that you can get really quick, really close, that's going to help you get better, SFA is one.
It's a tournament team.
Yeah.
You know, last year they were more than just that token, the Southland Conference champion. They were better than that, Craig. And obviously 2 years ago, SFA came into this building at the Farrell Center and beat Baylor.
Yeah, it's not an easy game. It's not an automatic win. So kudos to both coaches for putting it together. I think it shows where SFA is as a program, that they're not taking this game as, you know, just, hey, we'll be the little guy and come play the big team and help them out. I mean, they're looking at it as, hey, we get a quality opponent and a quality opportunity to knock off Baylor again. So that would mean a great deal for their program. They'll be ready to go, and hopefully Scott Drew and the Bears will be as well. I assume they will be, but it'll be a tough game.
Last year, do you remember the dramatic win the Axum Jacks had at Duke? Remember that? Seems like that's 5 years ago, but they won at Duke, which still, to me, I'm still stunned by that. I'm an SFA alum, and I like what Kyle Keller's done. I'm a proud alum of SFA, but we know Scott Drew's got a team that's loaded. But I love the fact, again, this is like Brigham Young and Coastal Carolina. You know, play a game. Just if you can make it happen, make it happen. And SFA, in fact, will be on their charter bus later on this afternoon. We'll try to see if Kyle's available. But a great job by Scott Drew to find games again after they went to Vegas and found a couple of games as well. Over under on how many targets and yet how many catches, depending on how much he plays for Des tonight against his former team.
5.
2.
I mean, if he has 5 catches tonight, it means that they've decided, like,
it's this late in the season, so, you know, he's just now coming back around. And while he did catch 4 balls on 5 targets, I mean, they only threw 2 his way last week, and neither one of them were completions. So I don't know what's in store. I don't expect him to be an X factor, in any way as part of this game. But he could end up being, He's definitely a side story, and he could end up being a bigger side story depending on what happens tonight.
All right, so a lot going on. The number, we'd love to get your feedback at 254-339-1122. That's also the text line brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine. The phone number again, 254-339-1122. I did get this from Marty Crawford. I was going to try to look it up when we mentioned, first of all, Troy Cooper, who follows us on Sic'Em365 Radio. Smokey, I didn't know if you'd heard about Fred Akers. I retweeted what Barry Switzer had said about Fred Akers. We discussed it near the end of the show. Troy said to me, he goes, he was a very good man. When he lost Danny, it hurt him deeply. That's his son. They were both my good friends. We will see them again. And so that's from Troy Cooper. And then last night late, Marty Crawford, who's now the superintendent at Tyler, who used to be at West.
Yeah.
My father loves telling a story. Coach Akers interviewed at Lubbock High School for the head coaching job when he was 27 years old. The superintendent, the board, they loved him, but had concerns with his age. He replied, "I thought y'all were looking for a coach, not an old man." Walked out. The superintendent chased him and hired him in the parking lot.
That is a great line.
What a great story from Marty Crawford, who was at West and now at Tyler Independent School District.
Maybe that's what I should say. I interviewed when I was just out of college at an all-girls Catholic school in St. Petersburg, Florida for an English teacher job. And they didn't hire me because I was too young. And they foresaw some maybe other problems happening because of that. But maybe that's what I should have said.
Yeah.
I want to bring up one other note, and we'll get to the calls, because this is one of the topics today. We mentioned SFA and Tarleton State added to Baylor men's basketball. Ohio State, Michigan. Is it out?
It's out.
It's done, yeah. Michigan's got like 45 guys off the roster right now.
We thought this might happen. Michigan tried to get back to work earlier this week. They've been playing since like 1870-something. They're going to be 6-0. No. What is the record?
The whole problem is that Ohio State's not going to play that many games.
They're not going to play that many games, so they may not qualify for the Big Ten championship game, but we know that conference will change their mind when they have to defer.
That's the story, is that the game's called off, so they're not playing.
They're not playing.
Yeah, they're not playing. So now the whole thing is the Big Ten is trying to change their rule that they set at the beginning of the year, so therefore, by that rule, Ohio State's not eligible. So they're changing the rule. That's the whole story.
And if they change the rule, and if you're the other schools in that other programs in the East or whatever they call their division, you got to be furious about this. And the College Football Playoff Committee will meet tonight and have yet another one of their four. In 2014, the reason Baylor and TCU were left out was because they said data points, right? Data points, extra games. They didn't have a conference championship game. We know the reason. That might have been it. The other reason was because Ohio State was involved ahead of them, and they won the Big Ten championship, but they destroyed Wisconsin or whoever it was. So data points, which counted in 14, may not be that big of a word or phrase in 20.
Well, and they created this problem on their own by, having committee meetings week in and week out, which are releasing a poll every week is pointless. I get having the committee meet so that you can kind of build to what you're going to be, and you don't want to just show up the week of and be like, okay, guys, this is the first time we've met. But they created this problem because all the things they say are just words to make their narrative fit.
Yeah, but let's look at the focus of where it should be. It's not on the playoff committee. The playoff committee's just handed the information they're given. This is on the Big Ten. This is the Big Ten that set this rule up. Remember, they were just, oh, well, we're not going to play football. We're above it all. You're all going to follow our lead. And the SEC and the Big 12 threw middle fingers at them and said, screw you, we're playing football. And then here comes the Big Ten changing their mind within a matter of days. And then now they changed their mind. They set the rules in place for what this season is going to be and how it's going to work. And now they get to the end of the season, and when they see that their team's not in position to be playoff eligible, their rules change. So this is not a playoff committee thing. I think if I was a playoff committee member, it would be hard to leave Ohio State out, but I'd have to have a long look in the mirror and say, you know what, they kind of deserve to be punished because of the conference that they come from. And it's not Ohio State's fault, but the Big Ten is the one that tried to put their junk on the table and intimidate everybody, and nobody balked at it except for the weaklings in the Pac-12. because that's typically what those weaklings do.
And some of the ones in the Big Ten were wanting to play. Ohio State was one of them.
Right.
Ryan Day and Scott Frost were the ones the most outspoken. They're 5-0. They're not 6-0. They're 5-0. There's no other games left in their schedule, as you mentioned. And
because the rule was 6, and so they've only played 5.
If they change their mind to appease Ohio State, it's no different than when Texas likes to put their junk on the table.
Yeah, but it's
when
not
the Big 12 was formed.
It's not appeasing Ohio State, though, guys. It's getting what they ultimately want. It's getting the Big Ten. If this was Penn State, they'd do the same thing. This isn't Ohio State. This is.
If it was Maryland,
they would do it if
they're 5-0 and can get in the playoff.
They're trying to get in the playoff.
Yeah,
because again, and look, I do think like Kevin Warren is maybe kind of up against it, but he's kind of the new Bob Bowlesby in that, nothing he does is right. And
he's the new Dan Beebe.
He's the new Dan Beebe. Jim Delaney would have never gotten down this far.
No.
I promise you, if Jim Delaney was still in charge, they would have played on August 7th. Like, that's what they would have, no, we're playing on August 7th. Shut up. Like, that's what that would have done. And Jim Delaney was a very, effective leader, also kind of a scary guy in college football, but this wouldn't have happened. And so now they're trying to, go back up, because the other thing that would have never happened under Jim Delaney is if they got to the college football playoff and a Big Ten team didn't get in, that's what it would have made Jim, the fact that, a couple Big Ten teams didn't get into the BCS is what kind of finally got him on the let's do 4. And then all of a sudden everybody changed. And then if they didn't get in the 4, then guess what would happen? He would have made sure that it was 8. If they didn't get in the 8, he'd make it 24.
Well, here's the deal. Ohio State's 5-0. The rule is to get into the Big Ten championship game, you have to play 6 games. So they're not even eligible for the Big Ten title game. That's the big hiccup. It's not even so much the playoff, but the playoff is we just assume Ohio State will beat whoever, and then they'll be in the playoff. So they would be, in theory, if they played a conference title game, 6-0, but they're not eligible for it. So they're not eligible to play because they've only played 5 games. So now the Big Ten's going to have to not only change the rule to put them in the title game, but then have to hope that they win that title game, which they likely would. And that's all the Big Ten's trying to do, is change their own rules that they set when they were trying to be all high and mighty, because now they look and they're on the outside looking in because of their rule that they set, because they probably thought there's no way an Ohio State won't play at least 6 games. I mean, we're starting so late. We've got open time. And sure enough, they're not going to reach the 6. And so now the conference has to scramble, and I guarantee, I don't want to guarantee, but I would be shocked if they don't put Ohio State in, even though.
Oh, no, there's no question. I think Indiana's 6-1. They beat Indiana straight up. So if you look at that, that makes sense. Northwestern leads the West 5-1. Iowa is 5-2. Some teams in the Big Ten only have 4 games, like Maryland and Wisconsin, among others. 254-339. Your thoughts about what they should do, what they will do. You're right. I'm saying it's Ohio State because they're a brand name, but I do wonder, if Ohio State was 6-1 and Indiana was 5-0, would they bend over backwards, or would they go, Well, and now they're doing the scrambling with the Pac-12 and the Big Ten talking, because now they're buddies again. And if Ohio State doesn't get in the conference championship game, then they're going to try and set up an opponent for them so they would at least have played 6 games. Which they told Nebraska you couldn't do. But now they're going to do it probably. Of course, because they are hypocritical. It says. Let's see right here. That was from a couple weeks ago, but the possibility had been mentioned when some of these games started to get canceled, and so now that's something that's apparently possibly being revisited. So we'll see what happens, but Ohio State right now would not be in the title game, but watch them get in the title game.
Our old friend CJ is on the Impact Health Labs caller line on Sic'Em365 radio. CJ, I don't know why he's not here, guys. You feel like why is he not here? Yeah, I know. He hasn't reported for duty today. CJ, what's going on?
Sorry. I'm about 3 hours out. It would have been a bit of a commute. But, I meant to call last week after the Thanksgiving game, specifically to talk to Paul. But, especially after both the Cowboys game and now the Steelers game, what y'all think about that football team?
I told Smokey last night when we talked, I think they're actually not bad. I mean, tell you what, they're not great, but they're not bad. I don't know what the Giants and Redskins, the Giants swept them, so they have the tiebreaker, both 5-7. But if you watch them the last couple of weeks, you see a couple of teams that if, in fact, they were to win a couple more games at the end of the year, you could see where they're playing at a certain level defensively that's dangerous.
I don't know if they can score enough points, but they're dangerous.
Well,
not dangerous to be a Super Bowl contender, but I'm not so sure you want to play them right now.
They're a team that teams have to prepare for and be wary of. And I don't know how many teams really had to do that when preparing for Washington the last few years. But now you say, hey, we're playing Washington this week. Oh, shoot, man, we got to get ready for that defense. And I think that's awesome. And, just a matter of, can they put all the other pieces together in enough time to where they take advantage of having all of these guys assembled on defense at one time? Because, in a couple years, those guys are going to be going left and right, getting $100 million contracts as big-time defensive linemen. So you got 5 of those guys right now. And can you get enough done while they're still under your lock and key around them to really be a championship contender? That's my worry. They can sign a couple of those guys, but you're not going to be able to keep holding on to all of them eventually. So can the offense catch up? I like Gibson a lot. I like McLaurin a lot. But they got to figure out the quarterback spot, and maybe that's Alex Smith. I don't know.
Hey, I'll tell you what, that's a miracle. That's an absolute physical and personal miracle, what he's done.
If I were Ron Rivera, here's what I would ask the front office to do for me. Other than, draft me some offensive linemen, because they're going to be out. They're probably going to be out now, but that they're probably going to get to 6 wins. So they're going to be in kind of the middle. So they might be in the same place they were with Haskins drafting a quarterback. So that's not where they're going to be. But I think that I would say go trade for Matt Stafford, who's going to be available, I think, because the Lions need to start over, and go sign Juju Smith-Schuster.
But trade means you give up what you have of collateral. They traded for Alex Smith and gave up too much.
Yeah, but see, you've got the defense now to support it.
Yeah, they're really good. One thing that's interesting is no way any of us, CJ, you, me, no matter what, how much you wished, Cowboys fans, Giants fans, Eagles or Washington fans ever thought that those two would beat Pittsburgh and Seattle, and they did it on the road.
Nope.
Yeah. CJ, it's great to hear from you, man.
I dig my own grave.
It's good to hear from you, man. Congratulations on the win. That was I was stunned. I got home, it's 17-10. The tight end's a load, and Thomas, who beat the Cowboys up pretty good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see what happens. They still have games to be played down the road, and I'm not sure. Right now, one of the concerns I had with that young defense was they're on the field a lot because the offense was so bad. They're young. Mm-hmm. I mean, they are making some plays. That's CJ. Thanks for the call, CJ. Armstrong Sims runs the mothership. Here's from Rob Zadika. He played offensive line at Nebraska. He's a doctor now. If the Big Ten brass changes the rules and protocols to allow Ohio State to play in the Big Ten title game, yes, it's hypocritical as hell. But I also think it's what they should do. Their stubborn inflexibility in dealing with this season has been their biggest weakness as conference leaders. So that's from a guy that played the game, who seems to be pretty sharp, and he himself says, listen, it's hypocritical. We know that. Do they then issue a public apology to Scott Frost in Nebraska?
No, of course not.
They won't.
No.
Of course not.
No, and they would have to apologize to half the league because half the league wanted to play. Ohio State wanted to play. Michigan wanted to play. Nebraska wanted to play. It was other schools who, were nervous Nellies about the whole situation. And, yeah, it's hypocritical. I mean, that's the most obvious thing about it. It's incredibly hypocritical if it's what they do, but it's also what they'll likely do. And if you're a Big Ten fan, as hypocritical as it is, it's what you should do. You should fight for your teams to get in, even if it makes you look a little dopey. And the Big Ten looks incredibly dopey under the leadership of Kevin Warren thus far. Can't seem to make up their minds on anything. And what they do make their minds up on, they have to change eventually. So, I don't know how that's going to work out in the long term. But, they do look foolish. But, if Ohio State gets in the playoff and wins a national title, who gives a damn?
In the end, I want the 4 best teams to play each other. And Ohio State appears to be, at least it appears, as if they're one of those 4.
They're the only team outside of Alabama and Clemson that I see competing with Alabama and Clemson. I mean, I'm trying to think of...
Oh, Notre Dame?
Yeah, to some extent. I mean,
they did beat Clemson straight up.
They did. Notre Dame, I guess, would be in that mix. I'm not as high on them as I am on the other 3.
I know, but you have to. And I'm not saying they'll beat Clemson again because they're going to play them again, right, Paul, in the championship game?
Yep.
But my point is we got to head-to-head eventually has to mean something because some years it hasn't. The problem with Clemson and Notre Dame is Notre Dame has to beat them twice.
I'm not saying head-to-head doesn't matter. I'm saying Ohio State is better than everybody but Alabama and Clemson, in my opinion. Okay. They're better than Notre Dame.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, so
I would agree with
what
that.
I'm saying is if you're forming a playoff and you're saying here's the 4 best teams, you go Alabama, you go Clemson, and then I think you go Ohio State, and then you go Notre Dame or whoever else you want to put in there. But in my opinion, I want to see Ohio State in the playoff. I just wish they didn't have that Big Ten, tag along with them.
If it was a down to 4 teams and 3 of them were already picked and you had to pick between Notre Dame and Clemson, who would you take? With
Clemson.
Clemson with Trevor Lawrence.
But if they won the head-to-head.
But they have to play again.
I know, but I'm talking about right now.
Well, then you'd have to pick Notre Dame.
Yeah,
I mean, they played.
Because if they win twice, then my God, they're that's doubling down. That's validating your win right there.
That's kind of what, I mean, it's weird because most people don't cheer for Notre Dame unless you're a Notre Dame fan. But I do think that's what a lot of people want Notre Dame to do is validate their win.
I don't think they've been good enough, long enough, and consistently enough anymore to where they are as hated as they used to be. They still have the brand name. They're still their own network. But I don't know if they're that team that people hate like they may have done 20 years ago.
It's because it's like Texas. You don't win anything.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like you're in the mix every year. You get the benefit of the doubt every time you need the benefit of the doubt. And yet, what do you do with it? All for nothing. You go and you lose to Alabama, or you go and you lose to Clemson, or you go and you lose to whoever. I mean, they're a brand. They're a brand that people see and they recognize and they respect to a certain extent. And, obviously some hate to a certain extent, but as far as like the brand making you quake in your boots by any means because of what's occurred on the field, that's not the case anymore.
By the way, Texas vaulted right back in the top 25 after they hammered Kansas State immediately. It's like they were not rated. Boom. We got to get them in somehow. And again, some of the teams right behind them, they beat straight up in Oklahoma State. But there's a couple of schools you wonder, well, what about them? No, the names came right back in. And how about 4-0 Colorado? Huh? How about Craig? Who's the running back that had the big game for them?
Jarek Broussard.
Where did he go to high school?
I'm not thinking of it right at this moment. Somewhere in Texas.
Jarek Broussard won the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award. He went to Eisenhower High School in Houston.
There you go.
And he had a huge game in the win against Arizona 24-13. He had 301 yards and 25 carries as they now are 4-0, and a nice little story as well. All right, coming up next at 3:45, we'll hear from Grant Teaff. David Robinson, D-Rob, knows Dez Bryant about as well as you possibly can. His thoughts about tonight, Dez and Baltimore being back in the NFL and also the Cowboys. This is Sic'Em365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they've got their holiday savings event going on right now. That means it's the most wonderful time of year to save on all remaining 2020 vehicles in stock, along with the incoming 2021 line of GMC Sierras and the 2021 GMC Sierra Tex Edition Crew Cab at Richard Carr is the best truck on the road. And during the holiday savings event right now, qualified buyers can unwrap $8,000 off the 2021 Sierra Tex Edition Crew Cab at Richard Carr. Maybe you're looking instead for a SUV, maybe mid-size, top of the line. Well, if that's the case, then right now you can save $7,000 off of GMC Terrains, $7,500 off of Buick Envisions. You can test drive both and save big today at Richard Carr. We've also got compact SUVs with loads of space and style. The 2020 Buick Encore is available now for only $18,950. It's over $5,000 in savings on the top-selling Buick Encore. And if you maybe have your eyes on a Cadillac, well, right now you can save $3,000, get 0% financing for 72 months on most Cadillacs in stock, including the XT4, XT5, and XT6. And at Richard Carr, they love their healthcare workers, military, first responders. Right now, all these valuable community heroes get GM supplier pricing on all cars in stock. And for every car or truck sold now, Richard Carr will donate a new bike to Toys for Tots Waco. So get yourself a great deal and give a deserving kid a bike this Christmas. It's a holiday sales event at Richard Carr. Get there now. Go to richardcarr.com or have them bring the test drive to you. Save big, the holiday sales event at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
With your Ram truck from Allen Samuels, you may not have to plow through snow and mud or pull heavy loads, but you could. During the Big Finish year-end event, you get a Ram deal like no other. Employee pricing for all, 0% for 84 and no payments for 90 days. Ram 1500 Lone Star for Christmas. No other truck comes close. And ask about Big Finish pricing on Ram Heavy Duty and Ram ProMaster for your business. Happy holidays from Allen Samuels.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio.
The Sic'Em365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
I got a text earlier today from Devin Lemire, his father, telling me that his son will be signing with Baylor next, Wednesday at Manor Senior High School at 12:15. He'll also be a part of our show that day. So Devin Lemire. And I had a conversation with him. I had a little talk with him. I said, hey, it's great. Your son is an incredible player. I asked him a couple other things. I said, I just hope they can get the National Signing Day and keep everybody. And he said, yeah, they need to make sure there's no other attrition between now and then and maybe add a name or two as well. So we'll have National Signing Day coverage. Colt's been talking about that along with the staff. We'll have National Signing Day coverage on Sic'Em365 Radio throughout the day next Wednesday. We're now joined by David Robinson, D-Rob, the coach of the NFL and pro receivers, and everyone's heard him. I love watching and following him on Twitter with even former Des Bryant. D-Rob, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. What do you think tonight means to Des, being the fact that they're playing against the Cowboys?
I think it means everything to him. It's a team that drafted him. He has a lot of history there. When you talk about the Cowboys to him, it's a very sensitive subject. He really doesn't want to talk about it as much. So I just can't wait for him to get out there on the field, and show the same team that released him that they made a mistake years back when they released him, and show him he still has it.
Can you kind of let us in on the amount of work that he's done, because after the Cowboys released him, and that's something that happens in the NFL obviously all the time, but most of the time a guy like that, even if the team that released him thought he was past his prime, somebody would give him a shot a lot quicker. And it took a long time, and he got with the Saints and got hurt. And then it's been kind of a roller coaster ride since. But for him to fight back, what's that journey been like for him?
And it's been, it's been tough. It's been a tough experience for him. You have your ups and downs where teams will call and inquire about you, but nothing really, comes through. But you still put the work in. He was getting up, working out 3-4 times a day. So, you could tell the commitment and dedication that he had, not only throughout the training regimen with us, but just the stuff that he had to do to take care of his body, the rehab, the therapy, going over there to Apex, working out with Bobby Stroop, and I was working on his balance, getting his Achilles back right. So he put a lot of work in. And, when the Saints released him and he messed his Achilles up, a lot of people don't know that, teams were inquiring about him once he got back healthy and stuff like that. He just needed to get in more shape. He wasn't ready, physically, so, it's been quite some time, since he's been on the field, but I think he's ready to give it a go right now. And he's a lot better in shape than he was when he went to New Orleans Saints for the first go-round.
D-Rod, what do you think the Ravens organization, the impact of how they operate, how important do you think that is as far as, that being a team that Dez was able to go to and be a part of?
Well, I think it's a great fit. The Ravens, they run the ball a lot. And so when you run the ball a lot, you're going to see a lot of man-to-man matchups, a lot of cover three, guys low in the box. So I think by them signing Dez, it's a match made in heaven because, Lamar is very accurate, especially in the red zone. So they need a big body target that can make plays on those 50-50 balls and those tough contested catches. So I think it was a great sign.
There's no doubt his passion to compete, to play the game, and to be a part of a team in any particular way, whether it was Lufkin High School, Oklahoma State, or with the Cowboys and now Ravens. Did he ever at any time, David, during his comeback when it seemed like it was getting, the clock is ticking, Father Time, but was there ever a time when he lost, in your opinion, or you saw him maybe lose his passion to keep playing?
To be honest, I never saw that, man. Now I saw frustration on, watching other guys play that are his age, that are still playing, making plays, and younger guys making plays as well that, he knew that he was better than and still is better than, in his opinion. So it was frustrating for him, but he never lost fight. He continued to work. He was willing to work this whole football season. If he didn't get signed, he was going to continue to be working out through the end of the season. So it never was a dull moment, man, where he was just like, I'm going to hang up the cleats or things like that. Now, it was long talks at night over the phone between me and him, just, keeping his confidence up and things of that nature. But, and just him venting his frustration, but it was never a point where he was like, I'm just going to quit, man, and just hang it up and not work out anymore.
If there was an award for personal passion, would Dez Bryant kind of be like the Denzel Washington of getting that award? Like, I don't know if there's anybody who has as much fire in his belly as Dez Bryant.
Man, I agree with you, man. Everywhere that he goes, he lights the room up. We could be at a field, at a middle school field, and it'll only be like maybe 5 of us. And then by the time we leave the field, a kid or somebody will spot him, and it'll end up being like 40, 50 kids up there, man. So he's still, icon here in Dallas. I remember me and James Slater and Bobby Belt, we were doing an interview at Baylor Scott and White with Dez throughout this period. And people were outside the window when they saw him throwing up the X, holding his jersey up. So, the city of Dallas loves him, man. I just can't wait to see what type of applause he gets when he hits the field today.
Yeah, it's going to be so interesting, and the fact is that it's here. I started to wonder, the NFL, we know it's a tough business. We know that it's a cruel business at times, and I'm just glad he had the opportunity. Do you feel like that he might because he at times can hyperventilate. He can be like overmodulated. That's kind of part of his personality. Do you feel like that when that game starts, he's almost got to like take a Valium to kind of, and I mean that in a fun-loving way. Yeah.
No, I think he's fine, man. I think what happened in Dallas is water under the bridge. He's not really worried about it. Just listening to him talk. I spoke with him the other day, and it leading up to the Cowboys week, and it was nothing about what he was going to do or how hype he was. He was focused on the coverages, showing me film on what they do and stuff like that, and just asking questions about what he should do on particular routes. So he's focused, man. He's locked in. So I don't think I think of course it'll be a few Jones between him and Jalen Smith. They were really close. Mm-hmm. If he makes a tackle on theirs or something like that, but I think it'll be all love, man. He'll be just fine. He won't need a volume.
D-Rob, you're uniquely positioned to perhaps answer this better than most people, and we've talked to a lot of players and coaches at various levels about what COVID's been like. From your point of view, working with pros and college guys and all that, what kind of a mental toll has this time period over these last few months taken? How difficult do you think this has been for athletes versus what they're normally accustomed to?
Man, it's been almost depressing, to be honest with you. Because with the COVID, guys not having training camp or not having preseason games and of that nature, it's been quite a few guys, like Corey Coleman, for instance. They released him. The Giants just released him a while back, and he was down here with me in Dallas staying ready. They re-signed him. He was with them for maybe 6 weeks, and then they just released him maybe a week or two ago. And it's just tough, man. You got guys that's sitting out like this. Jamon Moore, who was a 4th-round pick.
Out of Missouri.
To the Green Bay Packers a few years back, and played in Missouri. He was here, for about 5 weeks. He just got picked up by the Texans. So it's some really, really good receivers that are out here that just, waiting on the call. And now the teams are not bringing them in because once they bring them in, with the COVID restrictions, they got to sit out X amount of days and of that nature. So I think if the COVID wasn't around, they'll be get ready to be brought in and play right away. So it's been hurting a lot of guys, man. I just can't wait till it's over.
You mentioned Corey Coleman. We've had him on. We know Corey from the time he was at Baylor. We know how competitive he is as well, and he's bounced around as well. Maybe got a bad knock, and sometimes maybe things that he had to do better and grow up a little bit more and mature. How's he doing? How is he handling right now not being a part of the league?
Yeah, he's in a tough situation right now. I spoke with him the other day just by keeping his head up and staying positive. Now he has, matured a lot. He just opened up his own gym not too long ago. So he has some things working, outside of football that he's working on that, he's already getting ready to prepare just in case it doesn't go right for him. But he's still working out. I worked him out the other day, man. He still looks good. I think he just got caught in not only in a numbers game, but a lot of that staff, some of that staff from the Giants were from Cleveland. And, they didn't have a good taste in his mouth at Cleveland. So I think, once he's in the right situation around the right staff, that'll, give him the right opportunity, I think he'll revamp his career.
David Robinson, D-Rob, with us on Sic'Em365 Radio. And, Paul said and Craig said and we've said that you know him very, very well. We've learned and we know the story about Des Bryant, and considering all of where he's been and dealt with, how proud are you of him to be where he is at least today?
Man, I mean, words can't, express how proud I am of him, man, because most people that know Des, they know that he's a hit and miss type of guy. He'll schedule an appointment, or schedule something and not show up a lot of the time. But I'm just proud of the dedication and the commitment, that he puts towards giving himself back. And I feel like, a proud dad dropping his kid off to college, man, and you don't got to deal with him anymore.
Yeah. That's hard.
Yeah.
I love that.
Because it was a lot, man. It was good. I mean, because I just love the conversations that me and him have just outside of football, just to keep him going. And a lot of people, if they would just really got to know Des, a lot of stuff that you hear about him, you would be like, man, I can't believe that they write this type of thing, this type of stuff about him. He's really down to earth, loves people, loves the game, loves kids, and loves helping others.
We appreciate your time. Well, we saw you Saturday. We were at that game, Riker against First Baptist Academy. I know it didn't go well for the Saints, but saw you involved and try to help those young men and as they grow up and try to become maybe collegiate players or even just young men. We appreciate you very much. Thanks for your insight on Des Bryant.
Man, I appreciate you guys for having me. Thank
you too. Again, Des Bryant, Antonio Brown, he's back with Tampa. Emmanuel Sanders, is he with New Orleans?
Yeah.
Chris Godwin with the Buccaneers, Rashard Higgins with the Browns, and Jakeem Grant with the Dolphins. Those are just some of the guys that he's worked out with. And, yeah, he's even mentioned some that aren't.
Yeah, I know, like
right
last
now.
spring, Denzel worked with him a little bit. I'm not sure to what extent, but I remember seeing a video from a session with Denzel and countless other guys. I mean, they got a whole little circle of pros and college guys that train up there, particularly in the Dallas area, and D-Rob's a big part of that. And then Bobby Stroop, who we know very well, have known for a long time. He's part of kind of that circle, as you heard him mention there, with the APEC being a big training facility for a lot of the DFW area NFL guys. So, congrats to D-Rob on his friend and his client getting an opportunity, and congrats to Des on the opportunity. I mean, I know that, a lot of people may have like somewhat of a bad taste in their mouth, but I think in general, most people have a love for Des and don't really, hold anything against him. And, whatever immaturity issues he had when he was growing up, I mean, that's what we all chalk it up to. And it's not like he went out and did anything egregious or hurt anybody or anything like that. He was just kind of a punk, and, he grew up, and he's been through a lot, man. Look, anything Des has gone through in the NFL is nothing compared to what he went through growing up, I can assure you. So it's been tough, I'm sure, but he's got a night like tonight to look forward to. So I hope that he stays healthy. And if he can have an impact on the game, that might be kind of cool to see him catch a ball or two.
Yeah.
But
I don't think they'll feed him the ball because they need a win. They're 6-5. They're in a free fall. They need to win the game. But if there's an opportunity for him to have a moment, not that I want to see him do it against Dallas or if he played at Cincinnati. Obviously, we see teams, we see players that happens.
And let's face it, his moment might just be getting flashed on screen for like a brief second tonight and mention made of the fact that he used to play in Dallas. Like that might be the extent of it. It might be him catching 5 balls. For all we know, it could be anywhere between those two extremes and in the middle. But I mean, it's cool that he's got like kind of this reunion happening because of, all the ups and downs his career has held so far.
All right, again, one of the notes of today's day, thanks to David Robinson, appreciate that. That was unique that he was a part of that game we did on Saturday.
Keep your head up, Coco.
Stephen F. Austin is coming to town. They're on their way later on this afternoon. They're going to play Baylor tomorrow night. That should be a really interesting basketball game. We know Baylor's loaded. SFA, they're a fight, scratch, and claw team. They also added Billy Gillespie and Tarleton State, former Baylor coach who's been everywhere. Has been at the Ranger and a few other junior colleges. He's now at Tarleton State. That game is December the 15th. So those are a couple of things in men's basketball to look at with Stephen F. Austin tomorrow night and then Tarleton State on the 15th. Baylor starts conference play, what is it, Saturday or Sunday? Is that right? Sunday?
Yeah, Texas.
Against Texas. And so that's just part of the Big 12 coming up. All right, at 3:45. Franklin, in 2000, we did the game, remember, La Vega won the state title in 15. The night before, they played Wascom for the 3A Division II state championship and lost to that Bone. The Bone, we did them. They played Crawford, I think it was, that same year. They ran the Bone, and they still run the Bone. Franklin lost 2 games to start the year to Lorena early by 1 or 2, and then got blown out by Yo, and we know what happened to Yo's year. They've turned around and won 11 straight, and they're beating people up. And I had a chance to visit with Mark Fannin, their head coach of the Franklin Lions in his first year as the head coach. Imagine replacing the legend of Mike Hedrick, and then you start 0-2 with 1 game being a blowout. And they didn't blink. They kept chopping wood or whatever you want to say. He'll join us next. 4 o'clock today, former Midway and now current Tulsa star, Jackson Player, on his life and football team at Tulsa. This is Sic'Em365 Radio.
The First National Bank of Central Texas. 5 locations here at home to serve you. Waco, Woodway Hewitt, China Spring, Mart, and Hillsboro. And local decisions. It's a huge thing. Now, if you've been with a national bank, I guarantee you, because I used to be with a big national bank, and it was a headache all the time when things would go wrong. And I can tell you, I've been with the First National Bank of Central Texas more than a decade now, and I've never once had a problem with anything. I've gotten loans from them. I've had my cards, compromised, and everything's been replaced. Everything's been fixed. Everything's been easy because it's familiar faces making local decisions, and that's what they do at the First National Bank of Central Texas. I have never once had a problem at all, and that is not what I can say for the previous banks I was with that were not local. They were national banks, and you had a problem. Your card got stolen. It was 6 days before you got another one. Well, heck, what if you need it? What if you're traveling? All of those things were a problem. And then I went local with the First National Bank of Central Texas. I have had nothing but joy in banking ever since then. 5 locations right here at home to serve you: Waco, Woodway, Hewitt, China Spring, Mart, and Hillsboro.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
The holidays are here, and I have a simple question for you. Will you weigh as much more or less than you do right now when the holidays are over? Why not end the year in better shape than when you started and create momentum for 2021? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has numerous options for stocking stuffer gifts with gift cards for gym or tennis membership, fitness merchandise, tanning, massage, tennis lessons, and personal training. Perhaps a gift for a client, a family member, or a friend. You just need to walk through the front door to change your life. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. Spacious, clean workout room, free weights, Cybex cardio equipment, and no intimidation. A tremendous camaraderie and family atmosphere. So get the best and healthiest Christmas gift you can for someone or yourself. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
This is Sic'Em365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sic'Em365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Well, you know me and my attention to deficit. I mentioned Franklin High's Mark Fannin in this segment. That's an hour from now. How could I do this? I promoted this on social media and on the website. So Fred Akers passed away. Craig, you had that note at the end of the show, and then we started to see more and more of the comments from people, columns written or whatever.
Has Earl come out and talked about that
Yeah,
yet?
he just released a statement, and give me a second here, because I did reach out to him, but I'm sure that it was kind of a hold on just a second. Let's see here. Yeah, there it is. I'm going to read the statement from Earl Campbell, who his senior year was when Akers took over for Darrell Royal and he won the Heisman. There's so much to say about the relationship I had with Fred as a coach. He believed in me more than I did when he took over the team. I remember running for over 200 yards one evening in College Station, and he told me that the Heisman was all mine. He was so well dressed and carried himself in such a smooth way. I'm really going to miss him. His wife, Diane, is a special lady, and I want to send my condolences to her and the entire family. My brothers and I tell people all of the time to go back and look at the talent Fred Akers coached at the university. Not sure if he gets the proper acknowledgement that he deserves, but he did a lot of great things for Texas football. Earl Campbell, Heisman Trophy winner, NFL Hall of Famer. The perfect way to summarize it. And then one of the responses to that post was Earl hit the nail on the head, which he does quite a bit throughout any time he talks. So
He's
that's
very wise.
From Earl Campbell. And he has a way of putting things in perspective. And so does Grant Teaff, who coached against Fred Akers during those, 10 years he was at Texas. Won, 4 out of the 10 against UT, including the dramatic win in 1980 as they went on to win the Southwest Conference title, but won other games against Akers and the Horns. And I had a chance to visit with the legend, Grant Teaff, on Fred Akers, and then a couple of notes about 2020 Baylor football. Coach Grant Teaff with us on Sic'Em365 Radio. Coach, it's always a pleasure, honor to have you on with us. And under the circumstances, though, tough because the news yesterday that Fred Akers, the former Texas and Purdue football coach, passed away. And I know you guys went head-to-head many different times. Your thoughts about him as just the man of Fred Akers?
Well, thank you, Smoke. I really did like Fred Akers, particularly after we had played a couple of 3 times and got to know him some, but then got to know him better after he retired from coaching. And he was just a straight shooter, a really fine man, and I thought a very, very good football coach. He took over Texas and had some really, really good years. And I think he was one of Texas' best coaches that I coached against, and there's a long list of them that I coached against, as you know.
Yes, absolutely. He didn't seem to he had a great run, and maybe an underrated run. Obviously, following Darrell Royal is next to impossible. Look what they tried to do following Grant Teaff at Baylor. He was underrated at times. They had some teams, they were on the cusp a couple of times. I mean, Earl Campbell, the year in '83 when Miami upset Nebraska, they muffed a punt against Georgia. Yep. He almost won a couple of national titles. Do you feel like he was appreciated enough in Austin?
You know, there's an interesting phenomenon that happens with coaches, and sometimes they get more appreciated after they have been there, and the quality of their run sort of sinks in with folks. And then there is that situation that some people end up not as appreciated. I got the feeling that through the Texas people, and I hope I'm wrong, because Freddie was a person that should be respected. He was a terrific football coach and a very, very fine man, a person that I trusted in recruiting. I don't think Freddie Akers would ever do anything that was not according to the NCAA rules, and I respected and admired him very much for that. I loved to compete with Freddie when he was at the University of Texas on the football field. And all over Texas, I knew high school coaches, and Fred was very respected from high school coaches. He didn't come across as aloof. I'm the head coach at Texas, and you're only here at Chillicothe Barber College.
Yeah.
He didn't. He never did that. He was always very much respected, very much down to earth, And I really thought highly of him for that.
He was there from 77 to 86, and, of course, you were in the meat of what you were doing at Baylor. Is there a game, obviously the 1980 season, you won the Southwest Conference title. Is there a game or two against him that's more memorable for you?
I think the 80 team was, because it was very necessary. They were picked very high, and it was an absolute necessary win for us to reach our goal, which was to win the conference championship. And we were able to do that. And Fred was most gracious. I remember after the game, he was very gracious to our team and also to me and our coaching staff as well. Fred was that way. A lot of times, folks at big schools can get their head in the air a little bit, because they're coaching at X big school. But I found, the coach down there that had so many years of success. Daryl Royal was one of the nicest and best guys that you'll ever come in contact with, and yet he coached at this powerful institution.
Grant, one more thing, if you don't mind. Grant Teaff, great Baylor name, legend, with us on Sic'Em365 Radio on the passing of Fred Akers. You've now been able to watch Baylor and seen what they've done. They've not been able to win 2 or 3 of the closer games that they won last year. Their win-loss record is not the same. I thought the way they played against Oklahoma defensively was incredible. I know the offense is struggling right now as they try to figure out what they can or cannot do. Your thoughts about where they are as they enter the last game of the year against Oklahoma State, and what Dave Aranda's tried to do and the learning lessons along the way?
I think it is extremely important to win against Oklahoma State from a coaching standpoint. That throws you into your off season. You're obviously not going to be in a bowl game, so that throws you with a positive concept going into spring practice. So from my standpoint, and I'm sure it is from the coaches and from the players, this is one of those must wins. It's play it just like you're playing for the conference championship. It's not just a game, it is the game. And that's the way it should be played.
Grant Teaff, always great to have the legend on Sic'Em365 Radio. Thank you, Coach.
Hey, Smoke, always great to be with you, my friend.
You too. I appreciate it. Hope you're staying safe. All right, so that's Grant Teaff on the passing of Fred Akers and what he said. I love the one comment. Sometimes coaches or anyone, they're not as appreciated until after their run, when the quality of what comes next makes you realize perhaps how valuable they were. Mm-hmm. And so that's Grant Teaff. And it's thought about Baylor and Oklahoma State Saturday, and he said, hey, they need to treat this like it's a Big 12 championship game to launch them into the offseason, and how much more, a little more adrenaline and momentum it would be, perhaps even for the recruiting cycle, but also for the offseason as well. And we'll see what happens with that on Saturday, 6 o'clock, Oklahoma State, Baylor. When we come back in the 4 o'clock hour, he and Paul and Craig and whoever watched Jackson play at Midway High School knows he had a motor that never stopped. Up 50 to nothing or down by 20 with 2 minutes left in the game. That didn't happen often. He had a motor that never stopped on the football field. He had an amazing game against the midshipmen of Navy over the weekend. He's on a team in Tulsa ranked in the top 25. We've discussed the quarterback, former Baylor quarterback Zach Smith out of Grandview, among others, Philip Montgomery, the head coach. And Tulsa today gave me access to Jackson player. That interview next on Sic'Em 365 Radio.
Brother Well Brewing, 400 East Bridge Street in Waco. They've got the beer garden open. Dinner service tonight from Po' Boy Place from 4 to 8. Curbside, tap room, all open, usual hours again, 4 to 8 tonight. Look, if you want to find out what's going on at Brotherwell, go to brotherwell.com or just go to their Instagram page, and it's pretty awesome. They've got everything that's going on. They have trivia on Thursday nights. They had a cool event last week for First Friday. So Brotherwell's got lots of cool things going on. And if you're a craft beer fan, you need to check out Brotherwell Brewing. They're doing it right over there, whether it's the Bridge Street Vit, whether it's the Hidden Herd, whether it is the Act of Faith, whatever it is, get a growler, get a six-pack, whatever. Awesome beer. What they hear all the time is, I'm not a beer fan, but I do like this, because they've got something that will fit your taste, and they are passionate about craft beer. Brotherwell Brewing, online at brotherwell.com, or give them a follow on Instagram at Brotherwell Brewing to find out the latest that's going on at 400 East Bridge Street.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army radiologists. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties and the time with family. Various specials available in-store and online. A variety of steak gift boxes with 4 ribeyes for $70, 4 bacon wrap fillets for $55, or 4 New York strips for $50, and all come with steak butter. Fall snack box for watching a game or wrapping presents or hosting people at your house, including summer sausage, split horn, and jalapeno cheese, and salted crackers for only $35. 2 pieces of lobster tails with herb butter and 2 bacon bacon wrapped fillets for $60. Order online or call in advance to ensure availability, or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive. Waco Custom Marketplace has a full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. Plus, what you want with pork, poultry, seafood, and more. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Jackson player, Midway High School, Tulsa, junior defensive lineman, coming off a massive game against the Naval Academy as Tulsa continues their streak in the top 25. It's been a miraculous year. 10 tackles solo, 4.5 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, plus a couple of sacks in a hard-fought game against a team that runs that bone and that option. What's this been like right now?
It's been crazy this season, especially with COVID and everything. But it's just, I think it brought our team closer together, and we're playing as a unit right now. So I really like it.
Coach Montgomery, former Baylor offensive coordinator, said this in the newspaper about you this week. Jackson, and he's told us this when we've had him on our show. Jackson in the middle tonight was just all over the place. He was difficult to block. We moved him around. Jackson, to me, and I've said this for a while, I think he's going to have an opportunity to play at the next level. His first step is unbelievable. I know you got to play at the level you're at right now, but when you hear that from him, what does that mean to you?
It means a lot. He's coached a lot of good players. He's even coached Heisman winners. So when he says he thinks I can play at the next level, it means a lot. It means I'm doing something right.
So, Jackson, of all the classes you've taken at college, I've been told that Spanish was a little difficult for you, and it was for me as well when I was in college. What was the difference in Spanish that sometimes made it difficult?
Just how they use different punctuation marks and stuff like that, and just the way words, like they don't think in the Spanish language they use the word "the" like we use in the English language. So there's a lot of different things, but that was the most difficult thing, was just paying attention and grasping the concept.
Have you ever gone against an offense that reminded you of taking Spanish?
Navy, every year. You don't see it often, and you hate it because you have to prepare just for them. You have to change up your whole defense. You have to play defense a different way than you normally do.
Well, you played well. What was it about Saturday? I mean, you've had games before, but what was it about Navy this time that made it easy not easy, but made it so successful for you?
I think I just had I had more of a chip on my shoulder this week because I messed up and jumped off sides, had a couple offsides penalties against Tulane, so I told my coach and that I'd make it up in the next game, and that's what I plan on doing.
Did you all, as a team also, with Collins, who's getting some All-American attention, the kind of year he's had at linebacker, did you guys feel like someone had to also step up? Not that you didn't do that when he was in the game, but when he went out, somebody else had to kind of, hey, we've got to make this happen?
Yeah, and I said it on the interview with ESPN that, man, losing Zaven for the second half was difficult because Zaven, he plays sideline to sideline, but we had people – and we have people that have worked all year and busted their tails, so they're ready for the opportunity. Like Mitchell Colkin, he stepped in, a dude that wasn't even on the depth chart for the game, came in and got 6 solo tackles. Like, we're all ready to play football.
This has been a tough year for you. From even last year, you got hurt. What's been more difficult when you couldn't play because football is in your blood, dealing with COVID during the spring, or the shutdown where you couldn't go to school for a couple of months?
At first, I was like, because we got sent home right in the middle of spring ball. But for us, it's like, ooh, we get an extra week of spring break. I mean, I don't mind it. Can't wait to get back to football, but we ain't going to be too mad about an extra week of spring break. But then finding out that I can't see the guys and we can't hang out, we can't play football, we can't even lift in the same lift group for 4 or 5 months. It was pretty crazy.
I heard you had COVID, but you didn't have a lot of the symptoms. But what was the one symptom that you had that people talk about with COVID?
The one symptom I had was like a loss of smell. I couldn't smell anything, and I didn't notice like I had the symptoms until my mom was like, "Man, this place smells like nothing but Lysol," because I was spraying Lysol, but I wasn't smelling it, so I didn't think it was coming out of the bottle.
You're talking about a bottle of Lysol?
Yeah, I just sprayed a whole, like, half a can of Lysol in the office and didn't realize it was actually coming out. I just couldn't smell it.
So I mentioned Davis Brin, the quarterback who led you on that miraculous comeback, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and you've had a couple of them, and Tulsa's come back from way down a couple of different times. So was he the one that took you on the trip around the campus as your tour guide that weekend with his parents? What about the friendship, and how proud of him were you of what he was able to do?
Well, actually, we came in together. So when I came on my official to Tulsa, he was coming on his official at the same time. So he was the first player I met in my class. And we've been good friends ever since. Like, I go to his house. We have dinners at his house. We actually are next-door neighbors. My house is right next to his, so it's pretty cool. We got a good relationship.
Has this been almost like a dream year at Tulsa?
Yeah, this year kind of reminds me of senior year of high school, just winning a bunch of games and then going to bowls, going to championships. It's crazy. We've had a couple down years. We haven't really had the best of seasons the last 2 years, but I really wish we would have got all our games in this year because I think our record would be better than what it is now.
As a player, when you get that news about Houston or Cincinnati, what's that like?
It's tough because you want to play those teams. Like, for a lot of us, I think 60 to 70% of our team is from Texas, and our one game this year in Texas was Houston. So we got a bunch of our families that some of them can't come to the Tulsa games, and Houston is the only game they can make it to. And to have that canceled was like, dang, man, we really wanted to play these dudes, but we can't. And then Cincy, this is the second time they've had to cancel on us.
Your mother said she's so proud of you. You are going to end up leaving Tulsa with how many different degrees?
Right now I'm triple majoring, so I should have 3, and I graduate in the spring, so I'll start my master's program this summer. Entrepreneurship, business law, and sports management.
You want to be an agent if you don't play the game? Do you want to be an agent, or do you want to be in an athletic franchise, administration? What do you want to do?
I don't know just yet. I wanted to be an agent, and then I looked at real estate. I started looking more into real estate recently, and I like real estate. I think I just want to get in everything. I want to try everything, try my hand at everything.
Well, you're doing that now by getting all of those degrees. What's it like to juggle all that academically?
It's a challenge, but it's not too bad. I kind of load myself up with classes and then realize it wasn't my brightest idea. So, like, most of my semesters are 17 to 20 hours.
Wow, and also on top of that, playing football. Now,
yeah, and this year I added an internship on top of that.
But see, that doesn't surprise me because of your motor as a football player. I've done and covered high school football in Texas nearly 40 years. I've seen a lot of great players. I've seen a lot of players that played and loved the game, the passion of the game. But I don't know if anyone could match or is anyone above the way you love to play football. Can you describe your love of the game?
I've had it since I was little. Like, I always knew, like, this is what I wanted to do. Baseball was my first love, and then I picked up a football and never looked back since. I remember Coach Gamble when I was in high school. He was like, if you really want to play baseball, you can, but we see you being on varsity next year for football. And I gave up that baseball dream, and because I love football so much, I just love hitting people. And so it's one of the only sports you can physically abuse somebody and not have anything done to you legally. You can't have charges pressed against you or anything like that.
Jeff Hume, I told him we were going to talk to you today. Midway coach. They had a tough year, man. They had a really hard year. Great district they were in. He said you're the best defensive lineman he's ever coached. He has coached quite a long time. I asked you about what Philip Montgomery said. What does that mean about what Jeff Hume has to say?
It means a lot. Coach Hume was a great coach when I was there at Midway. He's always been good to me. He took me in, accepted me when he got the job at Midway. We had a good bond when I was there, and we still, to this day, he'll send me a text every now and then, and we still keep in contact. He's a good guy. It means a lot.
Are you living a dream playing football? And if you are, what does that dream look like?
And it's a blessing, nonetheless. It's a blessing. I told my mom when I was 11 she was never going to have to pay for my football or never going to have to pay for me to go to college. And I kept that promise and also told her I was going to make the NFL, so hopefully I could keep that promise to her also.
We discussed this. We had you on many times when we did the games, but also else time. You weren't tall enough. You weren't big enough. You weren't being recruited by a lot of schools, and there were some in your backyard. Of course, Baylor isn't a good run, but, different people have different feels for what they want, for what they run on defense. How big is your chip still on that shoulder? Because sometimes people didn't know if you could play college football at a high level.
It's still high because every time I play a team, especially when I play a Power 5 team, I look at them like, y'all skipped out on me because of height, because I know I've reached out and I had people reach out. And like you said, Baylor's right in my backyard, 5 minutes away. They come to the school every week, and they even offered some other teammates, but I didn't make the cut because I wasn't tall enough. So I just like to prove myself every week, like I can play at any level. Like height is just a few inches doesn't make a difference on the football field.
The NFL is going to look at that too, right?
Oh yes, sir, and I'll prove whoever doubts me there too.
Absolutely. Right now it's kind of a tough time with your grandfather, Paul, and that he's been in and out of his health. He had COVID, he got through it. He had pneumonia and got through it, and then he had to go through AFib, and right now they're kind of watching him. He's at the house with oxygen. What does your grandfather? What does he mean to you, and how often do you get a chance, or do you get a chance to talk to him?
I get a chance to talk to him almost every day. I'm probably going to talk to him after this call, but man, my grandpa, he stepped in as my father. My father figured as my go-to. To me, he's Superman. There's nothing he can't get through. So to me, he's immortal. He's a superhero to me. I think he can do no wrong in my eyes.
I bet he thinks the same thing about you.
That man. Without him, I wouldn't be where I am today.
What are you going to say to him?
Just tell him I love him and tell him that I appreciate everything he's done for me, and he continues to do for me.
Yep.
Him and my mom are my biggest supporters.
It's been a great run for you, and I know you got more work to do. So I don't even know, the game with Cincinnati, are you guys going to be in a conference championship game? What's next?
Last week against Navy, we sealed the spot for conference championship, for the conference championship, and Cincy just canceled on us this week or today. We got the news this morning. So we were supposed to play them this week for a regular season game and then play them on the 19th for the championship. But now we're just playing on the 19th for the All-Right Championship.
So that just
two Cincy.
Jackson player, former All-State everything at Midway, and also having a great year for Tulsa, the junior defensive lineman on Sic'Em365 radio.
If you're in the market for a new home or trying to sell the one you have, you need to call my good friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty. You hear me talk about it all the time. I cannot stress what a great dude Lance is. And buying a home is a very stressful thing. Looking at a house is a stressful thing. Oh, this one and that one and this one. And you got to look at a whole bunch before you figure out what you really want. Well, he's going to make that process so simple and fun for you because he's a great listener and just because he's a fun guy to be around. So you're going to have fun looking at the houses. You can go to his website, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com, or just throw him into Google search, Lance Donaldson, eXp Realty. Pop right up in the first thing that'll be there. There's no one else like him. There's no other Lance Donaldsons, that's for sure. You can see his listings and all the cool things he has. And it's not just in Waco proper. It's all over the 254, even some ranch property out in Groesbeck. He can find you a home where you want to be, get you a great price, and get you a great deal when you're selling your home. So give him a call, 254-214-3713. That's 254-214-3713.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
At
Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Listen, in the past couple of years, we've had a lot of people moving in from out of state to Waco thanks to Chipper and JoJo. And while we welcome these new citizens, they unfortunately brought some of their bad habits with them. Hi, Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, and you know what I'm talking about. Naked trucks. You'd think everyone moved here from McNewtville, but we shouldn't judge them, we should help them. For example, when you see a recent transplant truck from a less civilized state like California, instead of saying, "Your truck is disgusting, your bed is exposed, get a bed cover on that truck, buddy," that's a bit harder. Instead, try something like, in Texas, it's not polite to drive around with your bed exposed. Maybe you should check out the excellent selection of bed covers at Pickup Outfitters. And then if they refuse, you can say, "Well, I hear New Mexico's a nice state." Let's help our new neighbors and let them know that truck nudity is not okay. Let them know about Pickup Outfitters of Waco and send them to our website, createacommotion.com.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers. Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
All right, 4:22 is the time. I sent a text earlier today, just a heads up with Mack Rhoades, AD, Baylor. And I got a text back, I'm on strike.
At that moment, I was not having a good day.
I don't blame you. What's the backstory? Obviously, the men's basketball team with the Gonzaga game, which was just awful, that had to happen. But the fact you started scrambling, and so did Scott, and you're taking on SFA, and the Mighty Jacks, last time they were at the Farrell Center, Kyle Keller, they'll scratch and claw. What's the backstory on getting those two games also with Tarleton State?
Well, that's Scott and his relentless pursuit and the staff. And, you open up Big 12 play on Sunday against a really good Texas team, right? And just needing to play a game, with the Nickel State game being canceled to play a game in between, right? Before you play Texas. And so, SFA was available, and I mean this with all due respect to them, not a big brand name, but man, a really, really good basketball program, as you know. And, that's going to be a challenge. It's a better opponent, I think, than certainly Nicholls State. So glad that came together. And then, as you mentioned, Tarleton, as we continue to work on that, and that's intriguing because of their head coach, and I was at UTEP when we hired. I was in the room. I was on the road in the interviews with the athletic director, him and I, and we hired Billy Gillespie, and so that would be great to see him.
Mack, given the fact that you did, at least for the time being, lose the Gonzaga game from the schedule, and then Nicholls State, is this kind of like a nice little intersection of your team gets challenged, and which is what the team wanted before they got into conference?
Yeah, I do think it. I think where it's landed is in a pretty good spot. And so grateful we could make the game happen. And you didn't ask, but I'm thankful we were able to play, the Illinois game, because if you don't play the Illinois game and then you don't play Gonzaga, then how good are we? And so from a national perspective, to be able to play a really good Illinois and be fortunate to win that, I think that validated, at least nationally, that we've got a pretty darn good team. And I think it gives our young men some confidence. And like I said, I think, SFA and how they play and just they're a terrific program will be a great challenge for us. And if we're thinking about UT on Sunday and not about SFA, tomorrow, we're going to be in trouble. So, but I know Coach has our kids locked in on SFA for tomorrow.
Does it feel like almost amazing that Big 12 play is already here? And I know there will be, some moments throughout the season where there are other teams from other conferences scheduled, but I mean, just getting into Big 12 play and kind of having that uniformity. Are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, I am. I think it's, within the Big 12, both men and women, it's more controllable. The variables, right? The COVID stuff, the protocols are the same, et cetera. And so I think that gives you a little bit more comfort. That doesn't mean that there won't be cancellations.
Sure.
But I like, it feels more secure, and then we can, hopefully get into a rhythm of being able to play games. As on the men's side, the conference is crazy tough. This year it is every year. So it'll be quite a challenge. So look forward to that. And I'm looking forward to seeing our women compete within the conference as well.
Yeah, they've got it. It comes right up against them as well. We had Dave Aranda in the weekly chance. I have a visit with him, and you had said that you were not going to use December 19th to fill a non-conference game in. You told us that a couple of different times in recent weeks. But I did ask him if, in fact, some kind of weird thing happened, an algorithm that all of a sudden there was a bowl game available and just nobody wanted to play in a bowl game, or there was one open, and would Baylor, if somebody called, which I know that's not going to happen, but if they did, would he accept it? And he told me no. And he kind of gave us a summary. It was almost as if the attrition, injuries, the ups and downs, where the emotions, mental and physical, are all basically together and they're out of gas. Do you kind of get that feeling as well?
Yeah, I think if you asked the question 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think, the answer would have been, well, it's something we'd have to discuss with our team, right? And we've got a leadership council and get their pulse. And now that we fast forward, I certainly agree with what you said and Coach's position on it. It's just been a lot. It has been a lot on everybody. The injury situation, the attrition there, just all of it. And sometimes, you you just have that feeling. And I think, we all have that feeling that it's probably, unless something crazy happens, not in our best interest to try to play on the 19th. Mack,
Is college athletics ready for, because it's the football offseason is going to be the first one, but to kind of, and this might be the law of unintended consequences, but opt-outs and the free year and the one-time transfer rule could create a transfer portal that is absolutely, I said it on the air with Phil Bennett yesterday, that looks like Sam's Club, where people are just transferring in bulk. Are we ready for all this, or is this going to be kind of a zoo?
Man, that's an interesting question. I don't know that we are. And here's what comes to my mind, right? You think about the expansion of roster, going into next season for football, for our other fall sports, right? For our winter sports now, right? And so, the NCAA has allowed us to exceed the roster limits. Okay, so how many transfer, right? Certainly, there may be some decisions, right? We don't really want this individual coming back, right? That's the reality of it. Or that individual may say, hey, I need to go somewhere else. But what I think about is that following year, Paul, when we've got to get back down to the roster size. When we have to now compress it back down for football to the 85 scholarships, right? And everybody has been given an extra year. And now you're still, for the health of your program, you're still recruiting incoming freshmen, right? So you're still adding to the roster, and yet you have less spaces. And so that's when I think there's going to be this proliferation of student athletes in the transfer portal. I think you'll see it, following this year, no doubt. But I even think a year down the road, you might even see it at a greater magnitude.
So, Mack, just to be clear, they have to be back to 85, or you guys have to be back to 85 for next football season?
Not for next football season, but for the following.
Gotcha.
So for the 22 season, we'll have to be back down. So they're allowing us, right, to exceed the 85 for next year, which, certainly get and understand. And they made that decision with the spring sports, from last year. So we right now, our spring sports, this upcoming spring season, will have rosters that exceed the limits.
Yes,
we'll experience that again for the fall sports next year, for the winter sports, but then that following season, we're going to have to get back down. And so you think about just that roster management, you think about the conversations that you're going to have with individual student athletes.
I'm trying to use an analogy of what that's like. It's like getting checks from the government, these relief checks, and then all of a sudden you expect them, and then they stop. And you've been relying on that income.
Or they go, hey, you got $200 more, and give me back $200.
Yeah, it's a tough. That's something that eventually and that looks like it's way down the road, but my goodness, we know that it's not. So if you're Ohio State, what do you do in the Big Ten? That game with Michigan has been canceled.
You lobby like crazy to get the athletic director to change that rule. It will be. I've got great respect for the Ohio State program, Gene Smith, and of course Coach Day, and it'll be interesting to see what happens here in the next few days, and if there's any adjustment to that rule of a minimum of 6. If there's not, right, in Ohio State can't play in the championship game, how does that impact CFP without that data point, right? That championship game data point, and then it begs the question, the fairness question: do they get to play in the CFP if they've only played 5 games? And so that's going to be a challenge for certainly for the CFP if that's what happens. But I'm certainly will be interested to see here in the next few days, if not, within the week, how this plays out for them.
Mack, this just kind of goes back to we talked about this summer that it's kind of interesting that not everybody, the commissioners got on the same page when this was going on and said, hey, let's move uniformly in this. Let's find out what we need for our conferences, and then let's make a decision together, as opposed to what the Big Ten did at the beginning and was like, nope, we're out, see ya. And then when they looked bad, they backpedaled.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was and again, just being candid, and not trying to be controversial, but I think it was a bad look for college football. I think it was a bad look for the autonomous five, and the fact that we couldn't have some more common ground. And again, I also get that there were different circumstances, different regions of the country and what they were going through COVID. But I certainly just, felt like maybe, could work together better. Now I will say this, our Commissioner Bowlesby did everything in his power to try to make that happen. And I think so did some other commissioners, and unfortunately it just played out the way it did.
Anything else, Greg?
Yeah, Mack, I was just curious your thoughts on what you saw last Saturday from the football team. I mean, obviously not the end result, but, there was some thoughts from people who have watched the team this season, like, hey, that could have very well been a blowout type of game, or you didn't really know what to expect, and they went in there and they fought hard. And I've seen signs of improvement. Mack, I'm just curious, from your standpoint, you'd rather have the win, obviously, but were you able to see some growth last Saturday?
Yeah, definitely, Craig. I appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah, throughout this season, just internally, the way our young men have practiced, and I think the effort that they've shown in games. It hasn't been what you usually see, a team that's not winning games. And against Oklahoma on the defensive side of the ball, our kids, competed like crazy, played hard, certainly gave us a chance, an opportunity to be in the game. They're getting better. Even, at the end of the game, just some of the language within the locker room, right? The terms being used, and now all of a sudden consistent with new coaching staff, right? And so you're starting to see this transformation and the buy-in and the growth and yeah, we still have room for improvement, obviously on the offensive side of the ball and also the defensive side of the ball. But just the things that I see within the program here day to day are really, really positive. And I know that, maybe that feels contradictory to the win-loss record, but man, I think we've come a long way, certainly under the circumstances. I have as much confidence in Coach Aranda as I've ever had. And I certainly look forward to the future of the program.
Mack, thank you for crossing the line and the picket line and being a part of the show today. I can't even imagine what you meant when you were, or what was. Hey, seriously, it's amazing what is there a chance that because of Coastal Carolina Brigham Young, Baylor basketball and Stephen F. Austin, which they're close to each other. Who knows? Ohio State A&M this weekend. I don't know. Is there a chance that this taps the brakes on getting games set 7, 8, 10 years down the road?
Yeah, I mean, old habits are hard to break, but I think I think it there will be some thought process, different thought process. It certainly makes me rethink, and I think it will make a lot of my colleagues and we've already had some of that conversation, right? Is it in the best interest for us to match up 7, 8, 9 years from now? that in the best interest of college football? So we'll see. We'll see if any changes are on the horizon.
Just had this post, and I'm going to read it to you. Share it. This is off the message board. I think head coach. It was about our guest lineup that we have, but I want to read this to you. I know that you get plenty of people who say things, but I have to just let you know all the great guests. But I absolutely love the conversation with Mack every week. He's so transparent and personable. The highlight of my week from True Green on Sic'Em365.com. We appreciate your time. We agree with him. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys.
That's Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor on Sic'Em365 Radio. How about that, Craig, what part you asked? And with the stuff it's good. Again, as always, there's some meat to what we get with him.
Yeah, I mean, I was curious to hear his thoughts because, I think everybody went into that game with a little bit of trepidation about what we were going to see. I know some went in confident and thought that there would be a good showing, but I don't know that anybody could have, honestly, or being honest with themselves, could have looked at last Saturday and not had just a little bit of, let's see what happens here. And so for them to go and play the way that they did, I mean, we all know the offense has got, a lot of issues to fix this offseason for sure.
Right.
This defense, it's going to depend on who comes and goes, but I think we all feel really solid about whatever it's going to look like next year. It's probably going to be one of the best units in the Big 12, even with whoever comes and goes, with what's in place. So, I'm curious to hear what he kind of feels like, given that they're at this final game now and it hasn't been what they've wanted wins-wise, but I saw growth last week. I had a lot more reason for belief. Like I'm actually kind of looking forward to the offseason because I think it's going to be fascinating what all takes place, and I think this coaching staff's going to make some major moves with the roster. So I think they're in a good place, and it's good to hear Mack kind of feel the same way.
Here's what I suggested to him off the air for scheduling in the future, just so it's less stressful and more fun. Like if you can't pick the games, if it's just going to be random, remember how they used to do the lottery? Like it was after the local news.
Ping pong ball?
So it would be a guy in a tuxedo and a girl in an evening gown. And, he would be like, now the numbers. And the ping pong ball thing would pop up. At least then there'd be some excitement to it.
Yeah, I think it'd be more exciting to watch that than the damn college football committee tonight.
Yeah,
what they do. I thought his comment that he has more faith now, and Craig, you're going to put that up, that quote about what he said about Dave Aranda?
I want to make sure I get the full context of it because I've got the one line, but I want to make sure there wasn't a line before that also adds to what he was saying.
Yeah, he made it clear.
I've got some tweets from the Aranda interview I've got set up. I just haven't sent them out yet. I'll have a couple from Mack, and I'll send a lot of that out probably tonight and tomorrow morning.
And he does a summary transcript on Sic'Em365.com in the premium section.
I think one of the most encouraging things last week is, just Dave Aranda being fired up on the sideline. I think that mattered. I think that mattered a great deal. I mean, it's certainly for me just watching got me a little fired up to see him fired up. And, that matters. And I think the way that they were in that game, the way they were just playing so hard and, just him being fiery like that and getting the troops rallied, I mean, that played into the way that they played. And, maybe that's something that we see more of from him. I think he's still going to mostly be a reserve guy overall. But, on Saturdays, if for 3 hours he can get fiery, I think that's going to go a long way.
Don't you think about it like anywhere you go into a new job? What your personality is, but you still have to map out what you can and can't do. And even though you're the head coach and you're the boss, you have to say what's going to work with the personnel that I have. And so because this offseason has been so stunted and all that, and all the things that you normally get to do, maybe it just took him to this point to where he felt like this team was ready to see that side of Dave Aranda.
Yeah, I thought we've seen the last couple of weeks. And obviously winning helped, but Kansas State, the way that happened, and then the way they played. Here's a couple of comments. This is part of what we're talking about. This is from the message board. Does anyone have any insight on if Aranda has a little more fire energy in the locker room? I hope he isn't so laid back and calm behind closed doors. And a response to that, he was talking about the Red Bull comments and videos I've seen at previous stops leads to me to not worry about his energy. Yeah. Here's another one. There's a big difference when you have to be careful and parse your words in public interviews, but being one-on-one with a player as a coach. My hope is he's himself. If he's trying to force fire energy, it will come across as fake, which is what Tony Dungy said. I'll bet his intensity and focus is pretty clear in the locker room, even if he's not screaming, if he faces routinely. One more thing. I think a head coach has to have a certain demeanor to be really successful. When I think of the most successful coaches, every one of them has a little spark to them. Maybe I just haven't paid enough attention to him. So I then put Lovie Smith, Tony Dungy, Tom Landry.
Yeah.
It does. You don't have to have that. But we saw that the last 2 weeks.
Here's what I'll tell you. Where did that when he got the job last year, right after the LSU game? He was hoarse, right?
Yeah.
He's hoarse now.
He was hoarse for like 7 months.
Okay, so he's hoarse. So my guess is that he's one way to the team and one way in public.
He had his tonsils taken out. That's what it was.
And he had to do it again? Did they grow back?
Yeah, they grew.
And I noticed it a couple weeks ago too, but there was just something different about Saturday. Like there was just a feel with that team.
And he said that to us in the interview. Then it's on the interview from yesterday.
And I think this is going to be a fascinating offseason. I think there's a lot of major key players that are going to have decisions to make. And, obviously they've found a lot of good with a lot of these younger guys. Just seeing the Abram Smiths and, those types of players continue to develop, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And, who are going to be some of the newcomers and who are going to be some of the guys going? Because, we've all said it and we've said it multiple times now. We feel like this roster is going to look pretty different next year. And that might not mean like 20 guys. It might mean just 2 or 3 familiar faces that we've been used to seeing the last few years that are no longer around, so there's change coming. I think it'll be change for the good, change for, probably maybe in some cases the worst, because it's going to be a free open market for players this offseason. So, it's going to be wild, man.
Ohio State, Michigan, which has been canceled in case you did not hear that, started the rivalry it started in 1897. Ohio State's won 8 consecutive games, and it's been dominant. We know that. Here's another stat from John U. Bacon. That's his real name. Michigan will not play Ohio State this year for the first time since 1917, months after the U.S. entered World War I. But here's the worst part of the day on Twitter. I just learned that my friend at Hey K. Adams has never seen Charlie Brown and has no idea how the teacher taught.
Yeah.
It's a national tragedy. I implore the fine people at Good Morning Football to change this as soon as possible.
Armstrong, are you familiar with Charlie Brown?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
And I thought it was his grandma talked like wah wah.
All the adults in Charlie Brown.
All the adults.
Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah.
By the way, over to the right of Craig's shoulder, one of the barrels that we have here, we have a basketball. Is that in the picture? It's not in the picture. Armstrong, will you give us just a little bit of a wider shot?
Physically move the camera.
This morning, I was able to, and I surprised him. I called Kevin Hoffman a couple of different times, and I couldn't get him to answer. He's you win 3 state championships, and Billy Gillespie's blood or his wife.
It's big time.
Here's a picture right off to our right of the big studio wide shot, but this is off to the right. This is a barrel. We have 2 of them. One of them, that's a basketball, and we have had different.
I think people know that.
Yeah, we've had, and the other one's a basketball.
Something new today.
By the way, that's a basket
one of them,
on a barrel.
One of them is a basketball, and the orange thing. But I went out to Mart today, and I saw Kevin Hoffman and a few other guys on staff. It was great. Ran into Clydarian Campbell, one of the great players that they have. Just saw him. I don't know. That's the Mart helmet. I don't know if people realize, if you have not been to Mart at where the school used to be and what they've done to that school and the surrounding parts of that school district, it will absolutely blow your mind. Armstrong, do you have the ability to get on my Twitter feed at David Smoke and look at, it's about 4 tweets or so, 5 or so tweets back. Well, it'll be a little bit more than that. At about, I don't know, maybe about, 12:50 or 1 o'clock, I put up video and also some pictures of the new campus at Mart ISD. Oh, my God. Mm-hmm. The Davis family has, my goodness, it's amazing what they've done. It was at about 1 o'clock or so. But I took a couple of pictures. I took a picture of what they've done outside the football stadium, of course, which has been amazing with all the state championships and much more. And then also what they have over near one of the locker rooms. There you go. This is, can you put that up? This is the monuments of the state championships that are outside of what are the locker rooms at the stadium, all right? And there's not just football, but we know they have 1 million in various sports. So that's one of them. That's just one of the videos. And the school, if you have the pictures, Armstrong, I'm not sure you can be able to do that. Yeah. Is that one of them? Here is a picture of this might be the one at I think this is the gymnasium. See if this is it. Oh, that's the Learning Center, the James Davis family. They donated all sorts of money towards this. There's a new gym. They used to have a gym when you walked in the door and the lights were on. Sometimes you didn't know it. I'm being serious. That's part of the trophy case, and that's a video that goes all the way down. There's just one of the wings of I know that's. If you have not seen Mart and what they've done since late August, look at the basketball gym. Mm-hmm. So congratulations to Mart ISD. That is absolutely amazing. Coming up next, Franklin in the semifinals with Wascom in a state championship rematch from 2015, Mark Fannin. And then David Hellman on the Cowboys and Ravens tonight, along with maybe SFA's Kyle Keller and John McClain. Sic'Em 365 Radio. Don Shumidor, you're home for the best when it comes to coffee beans, fresh coffee beans. If you like coffee, I'm not a coffee drinker, but if you are, they have an array of taste and aroma of coffee beans. It's like you could smell that when you walk through the front door. And on top of that, if you need, they have various products, CBD. One of them is called Vita Dreams. Vita Dreams is a gummy. And you can take a little bit of a Vita Dream, and it will not knock you out, but it will allow you to fall asleep a lot easier if you're one of those that tosses and turns and you can't shut your mind down. You take a little bit of a gummy, and you can even, I'm telling you, next thing you know, you're asleep, and next thing you know, you've slept 5 or 6 hours very well, if not longer. And then, yes, there's the 48-foot walk-in humidor. If you're trying to buy somebody a Christmas gift, a client, a friend, or family member a Christmas gift, and you know they like cigars, that's where you go. They have all sorts of different brands, from Macanudo to Aston to Arturo Fuente, Rocky Patel, and so many, Cohiba. They are amazing, the selection, the 48-foot walk-in humidor, from Churchill length to the ones that are smaller, and also something that's a little bit maybe more harsh or light. Carol and Ashley can help you out with that, with stocking stuffers, gifts, and much more. Don Shumidor in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'Em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
MP Electric has developed a quality-oriented electrical contracting service in more than 20 years in the industry. Led by President Mark Perry, our electricians go through a 5-year apprenticeship program, are licensed by the state of Texas, and getting continuous education annually upon renewal. In great part, the success of MP Electric lies with its management and professional expertise of its employees. All of our employees share a dedication to quality and commitment to serving the needs of our customers. For new construction and remodels, parking lot, lighting and surge protection, landscape lights, security lights, troubleshooting and repairs. For industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, paper and publishing, heavy industry, cement and rock crushing plants, water distribution plants, and utilities. For 20 years, MP Electric has serviced industrial, commercial, and residential products. We do service right. MP Electric Inc. at 1890 Galaxy Road, Waco. MPElectricusa.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's bail bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio. This high school football segment is sponsored by Southwest Sports Medicine. We'll get you back in the game.
Mark Bannon, head football coach at Franklin High School on Sic'Em365 Radio. Just wrapped up a practice. Lost him in a rematch of a state championship game 5 years ago. Mark, how has the week gone for you as you prepare for the semifinals?
It's been a really good week of practice, Smoke. The kids are businesslike right now, and they're hungry as ever to get to Friday. They're good. Their preparation right now is some of I really believe is some of the best of the year right now. They're really locked in, and I'm excited from what I'm seeing right now. You are playing at a very high level. That was not so much the case early, as you had to kind of figure out a few things. Plus, you played good people. The game with Lorena, we know how good that team can be. And then you got smoked pretty good by Yo. What's changed since then? You know, just us settling in and the kids kind of buying in to what we're kind of offering. And, you know, it takes a special group of kids, Smoke, to overcome, you know, that early part of the season, that what we went through. And these kids have really, you know, treated it well and overcome the adversity. And I've been so proud of them of how they came out every day and locked in and kind of just getting the job done right now. And you've had to play good people, of course, that district from hell almost, with what you had to face, and then what you've already done in the playoffs, the rematch against Buffalo, who was red hot. Lexington, you beat them up pretty good. You and I have talked about this before. When you had that start, and you're replacing a man like Mike Hedrick, and you know, I'm sure I hope you're not rolling your eyes, but there's pressure to continue on what's there, but you've got to do it the way you want to do it. You say it says a lot about the kids. What does it say about you and your staff that you did not change? It doesn't mean you didn't tweak things, but you guys stayed the course as well. Right. It's like I told you earlier, man. I knew it was going to be hard to follow a legend like Coach Hedrick. And I still owe everything to him to even put me in this opportunity that I'm in, because I learned so much from that guy, and he's just a special kind of guy to me, and very grateful for him. But my coaching staff right now is they're a great staff, and they work well together. Sometimes I got to tell them to go home up here at the field house, because all they want to do is work, and when you get a staff like that's working well together, and they know the game of football, and they're really good with kids, it makes my job not only easy, but you know, because I don't do much. Those guys in there I trust, and they take care of a lot of things for me, and I am so very grateful for my coaching staff. You know, it's amazing that you guys are scoring a ton of points, and you've beaten good people I mentioned along the way. Does the fact that it's Wascom kind of help ring a bell where you were at NRG Stadium 5 years ago, a week later for the state championship in the game that was played? Does that have any motivation whatsoever this week? It definitely does. It kind of lit a fire under everybody when we found out we were, you know, had a chance to to play Wascom again. Nothing be sweeter to get a little revenge on those guys. Especially for not only these current football players, but this community and that 2015 football team that played them and got beat by them. I've gotten many texts and calls from those 2015 players about, Coach, we got to get after them. This is payback, and kind of we use that a little bit as motivation for these guys here for this current football team. So it's going to be a fun week. Wascom's a really good football team, obviously. I'm telling you, Smoke, the game's probably going to last about an hour and 15 minutes.
I know.
Total. That's with halftime. So, we better come out ready to play from whistle to whistle. We're going to have to take care of the football and swarm on defense and do our job and be disciplined. And I'm excited about this week.
I know Whitney Keeling well, and I think that his job at Wascom is one of the great coaching turnarounds for a program that used to just be awful. I mean, for years after years after years. And what they do with their speed and what they do with that, I guess is it the bone? Do they still run the bone?
Oh, yeah, they still run that bone, that stuff that you got to be very disciplined on defense. You never know who's going to get the football.
And they do it really, really well. It's fun to see this as a game. Both these teams are playing well. Do you realize that both of you have scored 616 points in 13 games?
Really? I did not realize that.
Exactly the same amount. Yeah, they've given up a little bit less, but you both have scored 616 points, explosive. And like you said, now you say this thing might take an hour and a half, which is a dream come true for games that now last 3.5 to 4 hours, but you've been tossing it around a little bit. Are you gone back to just the basic fundamentals of pound the football with your running game?
No, we haven't. We still obviously throw it a little bit more than we've had in the past, and that's one of the reasons I truly believe where we are right now. It's kind of opens some of our running lanes up because we have been successful throwing the ball. But if we can throw it 10 to 12 times a game, that's always a bonus. Against Buffalo, we didn't throw it. We threw one time and threw an interception. So we kind of went back to our ground and pound, and we were being very successful with that, and we didn't really need to throw it. But at times this year when we needed to throw the ball, we've been successful, and it's been a tremendous bonus this year.
Enjoy it. Mark, you've done a great job, and I love the way you guys overcame the tough start. And now in the semifinals against Wascom, that's Mark Fannin, head football coach at Franklin, on Sic'Em365 Radio.
Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com, Stephen F. Austin basketball coach Kyle Keller on the game with Baylor tomorrow night, and John McClain, Hall of Fame writer from the Houston Chronicle. What kind of gifts are you looking for? You looking for something that's a stocking stuffer or something that could fit in a stocking but is a bigger gift than maybe it appears because it's a gift card? Well, when we're talking about Pickup Outfitters, and I have traded back and forth some communication with Jay Errett, the owner of Pickup Outfitters in Waco on 220 Lake Air Drive. Bed covers, toolboxes, ranch hand grill guards, front and rear bumpers from Ranch Hand, and also not only the product that you find in the showroom or you can get from Pickup Outfitters, but the fact that it comes with installation as well. Spray-in bed liners. All of this can be either something physically you buy for someone who owns a pickup truck or something you can get on a gift card that will allow them to pick and choose what they want on their pickup truck, whatever it might be. Wheels and tires, fiberglass, truck caps, step bars, fit floor liners that are custom made, and gift certificates for you to give to somebody else, and including WeatherTech cup phones in stocks. It's all there. It's what they do. They help spice up and make whatever pickup truck either you own or somebody else has better. Spice it up. Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive, createacommotion.com, and don't forget the gift cards.
Christmas Christmas time is Jeep time at Allen Samuels. It's the big finish event and the world's most awarded SUV has 0%. No payments for 90 days and employee pricing for all on select models. Save thousands on the rugged Renegade and new 2020 Grand Cherokees. Even new 2021 Jeep Cherokees are included. 0%, no payments for 90 days. Employee pricing for all. Happy holidays from Allen Samuels.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your home for holiday favorites for parties and the time with family. Various specials available in-store and online. A variety of steak gift boxes with 4 ribeyes for $70, 4 bacon wrapped fillets for $55, or 4 New York strips for $50, and all come with steak butter. Fall snack box for watching a game or wrapping presents or hosting people at your house, including summer sausage, split horn, and jalapeno cheese and salted crackers for only $35. 2 pieces of lobster tails with herb butter and 2 bacon wrapped fillets for $60. Order online or call in advance to ensure availability, or drop by Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive. Waco Custom Marketplace has a full-service butcher shop for customized orders or cuts of your favorite steaks or beef tenderloin or specially ordered prime rib roast. Plus, what you want with pork, poultry, seafood, and more. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
Dalton throws down the sideline. He's got Cooper. Touchdown, Dallas.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now, here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, we'll have David Hellman momentarily. SFA's Kyle Keller on the game tomorrow night with Baylor. And also, oh, by the way, rather interesting, the Rangers last night made a trade. There is no winter meetings. The Rangers traded Lance Lynn to Chicago. The White Sox are loaded up, and they got a couple of nice players, according to both T.R. Sullivan and Evan Grant, who cover the Rangers like a blanket. A couple of high prospects from the White Sox. That kind of went under the radar because it happened like, my goodness, at like 11 o'clock last night.
Yeah, I mean, prospects mean they haven't done it, right? So, I mean,
you have a new general manager in Chris Young, who we hope to have on this show. And you got to, you know what? Hey, start loading up your minor league system.
Yeah. Dane Dunning and Avery Weems.
Dunning's the number 4 prospects in the White Sox system. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do something. And now you got, a new era beginning, and it's going to be really interesting to see, how Chris Young helps John Daniels as far as, composing this roster. Rangers got a lot of issues. They've got a weakened farm system, so this in part helps secure that. I mean, I think that's one of the first things they've got to get back to doing is rebuilding that farm system. They had a good one. They got close enough to feel like they were going to win something soon, and so they unloaded everybody to try and get the missing pieces that would put them over the top. And the risk that you run when you do that is sometimes it works. And when it doesn't work is all of a sudden you don't have what you were hoping for, and you also don't have your farm system. So they've got a few guys, that have been kind of hanging around now for the last few years, but they've got to get back to building that thing back up. So this is a move to do that, and also potentially a player or two they're going to be beneficial for you moving forward. But I'm excited that there's some new blood. The organization could certainly use it, and John Daniels can certainly use all the help that he can get to. So. It's not a year where I'm like super stoked, but I'm interested to see what they're going to do.
Yeah, see what the different philosophy or maybe some things that we'll see what happens.
White Sox knocking on the door with now Lynn, Lucas Giolito, Dallas Keuchel at the top of that rotation. They're fantastic young center fielder, Luis Robert. Really a cool guy to watch. Eloy Jimenez. They're young.
I just get googly.
Tim Anderson, who I like a lot.
All right. Baylor today, the men's tennis team got kind of a stunner. Jensen Brooksby, the number 1 high school tennis player in the country, ATP ranking of 268 when he arrived on campus last spring, has decided to turn pro and leave Baylor. This is from Grayson Grunhafer. He's going to be like in a fetal position over this. Yeah. But it's a serious loss, a huge loss for the men's tennis team, which we know has depth with transfers and also with what they had already. But that's a note as well with Baylor.
Well, it's been a weird year because of the departure of Brian Boland, and, that was going to have some effect. And Jensen Brooksby was a guy from talking to Grayson that, very well he could have gone anywhere that he wanted to, could have done whatever he wanted to, and he wasn't going to be a 3-4 year guy at Baylor anyways. I mean, this was more of like probably was going to play a season, go pro. And so this is not really any sort of surprise, especially with the changeover, even though I know that, obviously Coach Woodson's carried over, but still it's just not a surprise.
Breakdancing. Paul, when do you think all that started? When did breakdancing, was that back when I was younger? In the 80s? Okay. I saw this note. I was stunned by it, and it's actually true. The 2024 Olympics in Paris will include breakdancing as
baseball.
an Olympic sport.
But not baseball.
No way.
It's not a sport. It's not a sport.
What did you just say?
But not baseball.
Yeah, baseball's not a sport.
I thought you were trying to tell me I was reading something.
No. I mean, it's just.
No, I'm shocked.
Yeah,
this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. No, it's not. I've seen
dancing.
Other sports, climbing, skateboarding, and surfing are also new additions to the Olympic Games.
Well, that's fine. Those are actually, it's surfing and skateboarding. Those are actually sports, so I'm cool with that. Breakdancing's not a sport, in my opinion.
So they got like mountain climbing or like that stuff you see on the Battle of the Stars?
Yeah, I guess so. And I don't know how the climbing will work. I mean, I'm intrigued by that because that would look cool. If you got guys scaling mountains, competing against one another. I don't know how they do that, but if that's kind of the vision I see in my mind, I could be intrigued by that. I have no desire whatsoever to watch breakdancing, although I know like my mother and my sister, they will be probably drawn in by that. Me, no, but others, sure.
Paul, the IOC president, Thomas Bach, praised the new additions. Back in 2019, called them more gender-balanced, more youthful, and more urban.
I mean, that's certainly true. I wonder if you're sitting around at the dinner and you're like, yes, I won in the decathlon. Yes, I won the Olympic marathon. Yes, we won in basketball. Like, what'd you do? I popped and locked it all the way to gold.
Yeah. It's something that obviously takes a lot of skill. I could not do half of what, just an average breakdancer that I've seen in a video can do. It'll be highly entertaining, I'm sure, but I don't care.
It looks like to me someone's being tased. Rocky Steady, this is from Crazy Legs, a breaking pioneer and president of Rocky Steady Crew.
Rock Steady Crew.
Okay, that saw the decision as a positive, thinks it's the prominent breakers himself with the IOC to make sure they stay true to form in the arts, the art's true form.
So what do you say? I think what you're trying to say is that the Rocksteady crew is going to be like an advisor role to make sure that they stay true to what
okay. Beyond just the moves, the passion, and the pain that goes with living through struggle, that is the essence of dance. You want to make sure that the soul of it isn't diluted.
Didn't he just admit it's an art, not a sport?
Yeah. Well, and
there you go.
He literally just said that.
It is too. It's an art. It's not a sport.
You know what I blame for this? Every movie about dancing where, not like Dirty Dancing or Footloose, but any movie about dancing where like dancing gets them to like not tear down the senior center.
We need to add jump rope next.
If you watch
Double Dutch,
if you watch any network television at night, and these shows must be bringing in revenue or even numbers, everything now is about singing and dancing, right? As far as these shows,
lowest level celebrities.
Yeah,
ever.
no, there's some like the mask. The mask. I don't watch these shows. And that's fine. There's certain things I watch that others don't watch. I know that they must be popular because there's like 9 of them.
The lady from Tiger King is very well a murderer, and we're trotting her out on national TV and acting like she's some good person and celebrity. Like, what the hell is wrong with us?
Rod Blagojevich was the governor of Illinois who embezzled money from a children's hospital and went to prison, and they put his ass on Dancing with the Stars.
Yep, he did
the moral
that.
compass for that show.
I didn't know. That's how much I'm paying attention.
Yeah, like you got somebody who very well was a part of a murder, somebody who was, embezzling money. Like, and these are our celebrities. These are the people that we trot out and we laugh and we cheer and like, oh yeah, well, like everybody makes like the celebrity fascination. It just disgusts me. And I know like we're in a role here where we're talking about these star athletes and things like that. That's why I appreciate the high school and college ranks a lot more, is because they're not a bunch of, overpaid babies in some cases. Not that all of them or the majority are, but I understand I'm kind of talking out of both sides by saying that, but like, I'm not going to come on here and just praise Antonio Brown and talk him up and do that, but I guarantee ABC will trot his ass out on Dancing with the Stars to get a rating. You know, like it's disgusting.
Like, TJ, don't get me in trouble with your text. I can't read that on the air.
But it's so. And again, we are a celebrity obsessed culture. That show, and again,
country.
Yeah. That's how it is.
I think the U.S. is worse than anybody. The
U.S. and England and Great Britain in the way that, like, here's a picture of a famous person drinking coffee. Okay, great. Good for them. A lot of people like coffee.
I don't know if in other countries, a random reality star who's, a claim to fame is being in a porno, telling me who to vote for president is really going to have much sway. But here in America...
Well, it's like when you see some of the things that happen in stories, and they'll want to know what does LeBron think, or what does somebody else think, or one of the women's soccer players think, and they all are pretty much thinking the same way. What does Bill Smith and maybe Reno think? That, what about the common folk? They don't care. No one cares about what Bill Smith says, and that's unfortunate because that's the core of this country.
Right. I mean, that is the benefit of celebrity, is you do have that influence, but, I think that influence can be very productive, and, people who grow up a certain way, having belief that they can change their lives, and, having these celebrities give back, especially to younger people. And, like LeBron's done a lot of great work. I'm not a huge fan of his by any means, but, it's not because of him as a person. He's done a lot of really good stuff. What he did with that school, or what he's done with the school that he helped get going, and all the charitable stuff. I'm just not as much of a fan as just him, the personality. I just never really vibed with LeBron on that level, and that's just, that's fine. But, like the celebrity-obsessed culture we live in, it just kind of grosses me out sometimes.
When we come back, I don't know, David Hellman had said I got a text, he said he'd be okay, but he probably got caught up in some pregame stuff with it being a Cowboys-Ravens game. That's fine. Kyle Keller and Stephen F. Austin, they will play Baylor. Top-ranked and number 2-ranked Baylor, depending on which poll, they'll play tomorrow at the Farrell Center. And they're on their way from Nacogdoches to Waco, Texas. And we'll hear from Kyle Keller on how this came about. I had somebody say, why don't you have Scott Drew? He was at a media session yesterday, and we played that yesterday. They had practice, and he wasn't available. We would love to have Scott Drew, but, he can't be on every day. and we appreciate when he's opportunity. So if Kyle said he could come on, we'll discuss the background. You heard some of that with Mack Rhoades as well. This was Scott Drew making this happen as well. Then John McClain on the NFL and much more. Sic'Em365 Radio. 77 years in business. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. 77 years in business. Customer service, product. Two things. You have great product and great customer service. You have to be like knuckleheads not to be successful. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, these are great people. Unbelievably consistent, family-owned and operated. They have great product, and they also, when they mean customer service, they're not just, they mean it. I've been over to their location a few times, and I've even asked a couple of customers just randomly, around the yard where they have all the heavy equipment, and I say, hey, tell me why you're here. And yes, they have product for someone who wants to build something. Pipe, steel, metal. Metal buildings or construction of a big old massive something around your ranch. Or an office building. Things that you need, they have. And they said it's because these people they've never changed over the years. They are as legitimate and real as they have ever been. And 77 years in business. They have a location in Waco and Bryan, open on Saturdays, 8 until noon. Metal buildings and components, metal roofing, structural pipe, structural steel, including beams, channel iron, flat iron, angle iron, square tubing. And if you need help on a design for a project, they can provide you with a list of not just contractors, reliable contractors that will help make the experience smooth and easy and enjoyable and not a nightmare. They offer the highest quality of materials. They can help you with the bids on buildings that need to be constructed and help you even if you don't use their product. Fastest turnaround time in the business on metal building orders and large pipe inventory that gives you many options on building a nice fence or entryway wherever you need it built. Commercial, residential, as I mentioned, even a ranch or something, farm and agriculture, what you need built, they can do it. PioneerBoys.com. Pioneer Boys, again, since 1943 locations in Waco and Bryan.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army radiologists. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233.
Welcome back to Sic'Em 365 Radio.
The Sic'Em365 radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right, here we go. 524. We'll have John McClain in the next segment. As you know, we had Mack Rhoades on earlier today. The announcement or the story that Baylor men's basketball and Stephen F. Austin, the Lumberjacks, Kyle Keller and company would play tomorrow night as a help. These teams need games. And Kyle Keller, head basketball coach of Stephen F. Austin, Axum Jacks, joins us on Sic'Em 365 Radio. So how quickly did this come about, Kyle? Because I know even a week or so ago, there might have been at least, hey, look at us, you look at us, can we get this done?
Yeah, Coach Drew and I, we've had conversations. We were originally on the schedule of docket to play before the season ever started, but it fell in that 2-week window where we pushed the schedule back. And we talked at that time, hey, if things work out, we're only a bus ride away from playing. And then we both, we got kicked out of the bubble in Connecticut at Bubbleville. Our radio guy popped positive for that. And coach got positive and they kicked him out as well. So we talked again at that time and it didn't work out. And then, the big joke in college basketball after teams that have watched Baylor play, everybody's going to get COVID in a non-conference against Baylor. I mean, nobody wants to play them, so I being quite honest with you, I don't disagree with them after watching them play for the last 24 hours or so. I'm not quite sure why we agreed to play him either. I mean, it's the best team I've seen in the last that we played for sure in the 5 years I've been here.
Stop! You can't say that. You beat them here 2 years ago.
Yeah, but that was a totally different team. I mean, this team right here now, they got a chance to win a national championship. But, Coach Drew and Tang and Alvin Brooks and John, they've done an unbelievable job with getting, putting a team together that fits, and they're so connected in the way they play, and they play so differently than the team 2 years ago. And we caught them at the right time there, and I mean, this will be a totally different game for sure.
Obviously, when you're in the NCAA tournament or in a conference tournament, you have to turn around and scout a team. Of course, this conference tournament, you kind of know them anyway, but you have to turn around and scout a team in 24 hours. But the week before you go what you're going to do and what you're up against. What's it like trying to do that in less than a day?
Yeah, I told our staff this morning. We practiced yesterday morning, and we really didn't get confirmation until last night, really early in the evening last night, that we thought we might play this game. So we've wasted a day of practice and not prepping for the game. And I know this sounds crazy, but we would need more than a week to prep for not only their offense, but their defense is so good. They're so unique. I mean, they were top 5 in the country in offensive efficiency and whatnot, but their defense, they just make it so hard to score. I mean, we were 8th in the country last year in scoring, but this is a totally different animal. Nobody in our league plays defense the way they play defense. I mean, we'll never be, and maybe that's a good thing because our guys don't know, but we could get we could wave the white flag pretty early against them. I mean, they're, you saw what regardless of Louisiana Lafayette or Washington, but the real team, Illinois, they manhandled them the second half. I mean, they are legit. They are real. And that was impressive to me, really impressive.
Kyle, you talked about, Bubbleville and what went on there, and Baylor's obviously had their issues so far. I mean, just what's kind of the start to the season? You've had this time to kind of prepare and know it was going to be weird. You've seen what football's gone through, but just the start of the year, what's it been like for you?
Yeah, we lost our first 5 games to COVID and lost those 3 games up. And we had 5 different scouting reports up in Connecticut. The opponents kept changing. We kept changing who we thought we were going to play going into it. And then the day before we were going to play, we got sent packing. So, then we come home and our first 2 opponents at home, we thought we were playing, they got COVID. And we haven't had a player or coach test positive for COVID since July. And, our staff has done a great job. And Coach Drew even commented on me on this last night was, hey, one of the reasons why we're playing you guys is because of how you're testing. You're testing like we are in the Big 12. I mean, we've tested so many times and so often with PCR tests here at SFA to allow our team and to give our kids a chance to play games. And our training staff and administration has done a wonderful job preparing us to play, but it's been nuts. I mean, we had to change schedules. We thought we might play one game. I mean, we played a game Sunday, got a game on Friday to play a game on Sunday, but couldn't practice on Saturday because of taking days off and hope we might get a game on Wednesday. Didn't know we were even going to get a game on Wednesday, but played the game Sunday without practice on Saturday, hoping we could get a game midweek and didn't get it till last night. That's what we're doing stuff like that, crazy stuff. So it's just nuts, to be honest with you. I got a call today saying, hey, would you play a game on Monday potentially? And we don't have one scheduled. So, it's just crazy how we're doing stuff. I mean, it's like, hey, let's go down to the Y and see who's going to show up and who wants to play.
Hey, some of those guys are pretty good. Right, some of those guys at the Y, be careful, I mean.
Oh, no, David, no question. I mean, that's and we've kind of been that way ourselves. We can't get anybody to play us. And I commend Coach Drew for at least playing us because we're like the maybe not the prettiest girl at prom and stands against the wall, and we're not the most attractive opponent because of our style of play and how we play. I'm really grateful to Coach Drew that at least I am today before we play the game.
God,
that he is playing our kids.
Stop!
So,
you are. This is ridiculous. You guys are really good. You are an NCAA. If you would have been able to play in the tournament like Baylor, you had a Sweet 16 team.
No, our team a year ago was really good. But here we are 12 months later. And this is a conversation. Like I was telling a couple of my kids just this weekend. 12 months ago, we'd been to New York. We'd been to Rutgers. We'd been to Alabama. We'd been to Cameron to play Duke. We'd gone to Arkansas State, played really well up there. And this year we'd played LSU, Alexandria, LeTourneau, and played McNeese at home in the same time frame.
Yeah.
And our kids are looking around each other like, Coach, can you get us a game against anybody? and they're tired of practicing. And you need competition. That's like no disrespect. But, David, it's like you going out and playing a par 3 course every day versus going out and playing a great golf course. Yeah. Your game doesn't get any better.
No.
And you sure as heck get tired of hitting balls.
So how does
your imagination gets boring?
Yeah, how does this conversation? I know you and Scott. First of all, you've played each other. You both are very good. How did you know when it was final? Did you have to go through ADs and my God, all the legal stuff? How did it happen?
Alvin Brooks on Scott's staff and Jeremy Cox, my associate head coach. Alvin worked for Jeremy when they won a national championship in junior college at West Ark. And Jeremy's done a good job staying in touch with Alvin. And I talked to Coach Drew, like I said, a couple of weeks ago. And we'd actually been talking to North Texas, Grant McCaslin, about potentially playing. And that kind of fell through. And Alvin and Jeremy were talking, and then things kind of fell into place possibly late in the day, close to 5 o'clock or so. And I called Coach Drew last night. I said, hey, I know we don't have a contract yet, but we're kind of in the middle of finals. So if you really think this is going to go to fruition, I need to make some academic plans. He said, no, Kyle. He said, you know me, my word's my word. We're going to play. So I had to gather my team up last night, my academic people up, since we're going to leave tonight and take some final, with Zoom, It's different than when we were in school. I mean, you take a final anywhere. So we got taking finals in a hotel tomorrow and all that kind of stuff. And so it is a little bit different. So, and then we signed a contract today. They sent a contract over today. And, it is what it is. I mean, that's what makes, today's so different, that I appreciate Coach Drew because he is a man of his word. And that means a lot to me because a lot of guys, he could have still shuffled around and try to get somebody else, but we didn't ask for really any money. Just, like guaranteed money is so different. I mean, less than 10% of what people are paying normally. We ask for minimal. We may even lose money on this deal.
Yeah, it's crazy how it's all sort of works. So given Kyle what you said about, wanting to play a team that'll test you a bit and your players like, hey, let's find somebody. When you told them, hey, we're going to play Baylor, did they get pretty pumped up about that?
I think initially, and then today as we start showing film, those guys are like, I'm not sure this is exactly the opponent we would want. I mean, guys, no disrespect, but, and this is no slap at Duke from a year ago, but this team here is so much better than the number one ranked Duke team we played a year ago. So much better. And you can't even compare that team to Duke was. Duke lost a bunch of games. That Baylor team that they have, they have no holes. I mean, they get half their balls back, lead the country in offensive rebounding. They make threes. They don't turn it over. I mean, they're one of the best defensive teams going. I mean, they have no holes. I mean, you look and you think, well, we can exploit this. We can, they don't give anything up. I mean, they are really, really good. And you're just like, all right, well, we don't want to run with them. And you think, well, let's take a long possession. You think, well, we're never going to get our best shot may be early in the shot clock. So, we're averaging 95, they're averaging 93. And we're like, well, if we miss a good shot, I mean, you better take one when you get one. But that's where you get beat 40. So, it'll be an interesting game, that's for sure. I mean, we're not going to change who we are, just for one game. But it'll be – I think you'll enjoy watching this Baylor team. Because here's the thing. It's funny. Before we even thought about playing this game, I showed our guys Scott Drew's bench against Illinois because they are so connected and so together. And that's why I think this team, they play for each other and they play for Baylor University.
Yeah, they seem to be a pretty good family, but that's the way you guys are as well. And you remind me of an old Southwest Conference media day about how everyone else. I know I love you to death on this, and I know you are sincere about what you say about Baylor. But you got a good basketball team, and you had a thing. Your team got shut down in what might have been the best team SFA's ever had, which says a lot. Right at the same time everybody did, and it might have been as good a Baylor team as they've ever had as well. So this is kind of interesting that you play tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Smokey. Our team last year was one of the best, and I've coached teams in the Final Four and Elite Eight, and you know that. That team last year was special. It was, and I hated it for them that what happened to them because we could never get that back, and they had a great edge about them. This team doesn't have that same edge yet that last year's team had. We lost two great defenders and a kid who had signed a contract to play with the Lakers in the G League. And how do you replace an NBA guy in the Southland Conference? You don't get many of those. And, so we're not there yet. I like our team, but we're not where we were a year ago at this point. We don't have that grit that we're a pro and NBA guy like we did a year ago. But we're a fun group. I mean, they're fun and they're excited about playing and I do appreciate getting the opportunity to play Baylor, but I mean, their five guards average 70 points a game. I mean, and we thrive on pressure. And when last time we played them, they had like two that could handle the ball. This year they got five.
Yeah, they're good.
They're different. It's a different team.
I'll scream at you from the top of the rafters to say hi because I'm not allowed to get close.
Press rolling?
Yeah, no, the press row's like up in the up in the mezzanine section, but. I'll scream
at you. That's all the juice you have? I mean, Sic'Em365, that's all the juice you have? God dang.
I hope David K's listening.
I would think Mack Rhoades would at least take care. With the call signal like 360, come on.
365.
You can do better. All you've done.
365. And thank you very much for your time. Seriously. I know you guys, if you're on your way, are you on the bus? Where are you?
The bus is out there waiting on me to get on. That's how much juice you have with me.
I have more juice with my alma mater. Hey, I look forward to it. I know this is going to be a hell of a game. Thanks so much, Kyle. Glad it's happening. That's Kyle Keller.
Me too.
God,
I love it. Every time. Great guest.
He thinks I have juice with Mack Rhoades. He has no idea those times when you guys both say we can't control it.
I'll tell you this. As a fan of like old time late night TV with like Letterman and Johnny Carson, you always had those guests that they have. Like Letterman always had Tony Randall that was just A+ every time. Kyle Keller is kind of like in my Phil Bennett category for our that's our Tony. That's the Tony Randall level.
Yeah,
we're just a great guest every time.
He's very, very good. When we come back, we'll hear from John McClain of the Houston Chronicle. It's Sic'Em365 Radio.
When it comes to hauling the family and hauling cargo, see Alan Samuels. Get the king of minivans, the award-winning Chrysler Pacifica, or America's lowest price third-row crossover, Dodge Journey. During the Big Finish event, get 0%, no payments for 90 days, and employee pricing for all on Pacifica. It's minivan first class. And get employee pricing for all on new 2020 Dodge Journeys. Happy holidays from your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nitchie Group Insurance Agency. With the Nitchie Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nitchie Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nitchie Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to Sic'Em365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
All right, Cowboys and Ravens tonight. Obviously, yesterday, Buffalo flexed their muscles against the 49ers, and Washington and the Giants all of a sudden seem to be at least interested in the NFC East. John McClain, Houston Chronicle, joins us on Sic'Em365 Radio. John, someone's got to win the division, and it looks like actually both Washington and New York aren't bad right now.
Giants have won 4 in a row to go cross country and win in Seattle, especially with Colt McCoy at quarterback, was such an impressive accomplishment. And then, gosh, what Washington did going to Pittsburgh, down 14-0, came back to win, played great defense. You know, who doesn't love Alex Smith, him being able to come back from that catastrophic injury? He's automatically the NFL comeback player of the year. It should be unanimous, but at least we got a race. I picked Dallas to win before the season. I thought when Dak Prescott went out, Philadelphia would win. Now, of course, the Eagles have big time quarterback controversy, and I don't think Dallas has a prayer of beating the Ravens. The Ravens are desperate. They play the easiest schedule in the AFC. And in their struggle to try to get that last playoff berth. But, it's always fun because you never know about an upset. I mean, who thought Washington was going to be a victor in Pittsburgh? Certainly not me.
Yeah, no doubt, John. And with Washington in particular, Ron Rivera has become what seems like a very well-liked guy. Their defense is obviously very solid. They've got a couple of young offensive playmakers, McLaurin and Gibson. But with Alex Smith, do you think that's the long-term play for them at quarterback?
No, I think they'll get another quarterback. And the thing about Antonio Gibson, their good rookie running back, he got hurt early in that game yesterday. Mm-hmm. I thought, well, they weren't going to win anyway, but they sure weren't going to win without him. And then they turned around and won without him. And Ron Rivera is like Alex Smith. But he wasn't in it. He didn't have his was not the injury. It was the infection that got in his injury. But Ron Rivera had to get chemo while the season was going on. And then he was able to have it in remission. And so it'd be a great story. I mean, when's the last time we heard anything positive out of Washington? Everything is so negative about Dan Snyder. I know, David, that's your team. My wife is a big Washington fan. She's excited about it. And I think it's fun to have Washington as good again.
First time since RG3, really. I mean, Cousins took them to a playoff, but they didn't do anything. RG3 was the last feel-good story for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and that turned out to be a feel-bad story because of his injuries. And right now there's not a better feel-good story than Alex Smith, but I don't think that he's going to be the long-term answer. I still think they need another quarterback. Dwayne Haskins has just disappeared from the face of the earth.
John, any news on the timetable when the Texans will make a GM hire? I'm very curious about this.
They're going to hire general manager and coach after the season. I had a story this morning with Cal McNair, the owner. He has an advisory committee of Jimmy Johnson, Tony Dungy, Andre Johnson, Rod Graves, longtime executive who's with the Prince Pollard Alliance, and then R.C. Buford, the Spurs longtime GM who's CEO. And I asked him, why R.C. Buford? He said, well, my dad and I forever. What a great organization. How impressive what they've been able to do for so long. He said, I want to talk to him about culture, about organizational structure, because how many teams have been as consistently good as the Spurs have through the decades?
John, as far as the game coming up, this weekend, how you feeling about the Texans? How you feeling about the matchup?
Well, the Texans, that last game where they lost on the 2-yard line with a bad snap that Deshaun Watson couldn't handle, and they lost the game. Everybody here is just still devastated. They would have won 3 in a row They would have been 5-7, but now they've got 3 big what ifs. What if Nick Martin hadn't had a bad snap at the 2? What if they had scored at the 2 in Cleveland when they lost 10-7 in terrible weather? What if the defense hadn't blown the overtime game at Tennessee 42-36 by allowing 2 late touchdown drives? What could have been? But right now, the players and coaches are focused on trying to win, earn a little respect. They're all auditioning for jobs, whether it's with the Texans under the new coach and GM or whether it's with other teams. So they're still playing hard, and Watson, of course, is still playing great.
John, what do you think the future is for Will Fuller now?
I think they will try to re-sign Will Fuller. He won't make as much money as he would have if he hadn't been suspended for the rest of the year. And I'll tell you this, Paul, he's going to have to agree to a contract that protects them in case he had another positive test. So he'll have to make a lot of money based on per game roster bonuses. That's only fair for the team since he did such a knuckleheaded thing and hurt his team. But, sometimes through adversity, people step up. Kiki QT, third season, 147 yards. Chad Hansen, who's on the practice squad the last 2 years and hadn't caught a pass since his rookie year with the Jets in 2017, 101 yards. That's what happens when you play with a great quarterback.
What is going on with New England all of a sudden?
Yeah, after the Texans beat them here, they've won 2 in a row. They just went up. The Chargers played what I think may be the worst special teams game in NFL history. Anthony Lynn has got to be fired. If they let fans come back next year, Chargers trying to sell tickets in the city where nobody cares about them, in a stadium where nobody wants to see them. And if they bring a coach back after a disastrous season in which he's made one mistake after another, I think it would just be a disaster for that team. And I don't care how good quarterback Justin Herbert is.
John, speaking of quarterbacks, what do you think of the Eagles making the move? Jalen Hurts will be getting the start over Carson Wentz.
Boy, that's a tough thing. It's going to be hard to get away from Wentz with this contract. And it's not like he forgot how to play quarterback. He's obviously shot mentally. The off season would be good for him. Maybe being benched would be good for him. And Hurts is going to be the most popular player in town, but you guys know how those fans can turn on you. But it's going to be hard to trade Wentz because of the contract they signed him to. So I'm guessing next season he'll still be the quarterback.
Isn't it the next 2? I mean, it's $59 million hit if he's not on the roster next year and $24 the year after. So it's a pretty tough deal to get rid of him for 2 years, isn't it?
Well, it is, but you can designate a guy as a June 1st casualty. You can do 2 players per team, and that cuts the cap hit in half.
Gotcha.
That's it? You good?
so.
John, your thoughts? I know Baylor right now, they are either going to end up 2-7 or 3-6, Oklahoma State Saturday evening. They went in the Norman. The defense looked very 2020-ish, and we've seen that a couple of times. We know that there's some issues. Your thoughts about where they are as you watch them at times from afar?
They played better against Oklahoma than I thought they would. And, they beat the spread. And then it'd be great if they could upset Oklahoma State. I don't think they will, but it'd be great. And I tell you what, like everybody, I went with, my buddy Lester said, we went to a restaurant here that has a private dining room and a monster TV where we go to watch a lot of Baylor games. So we went down there. We're the only ones in that private dining room. We got pizza. We got all kind of food. Turned on the TV to get ready for the pregame, and all of a sudden looked at our phones and, oh, bleep.
Yep.
I love it. Yeah.
Guys.
All right, buddy. Thanks, John. John McClain with us, Houston Chronicle on Sic'Em365 Radio. Purdue did not practice today. They've been kind of in a holding pattern. And now Indiana football team has paused all team-related activities. And guess what? If, in fact, Ohio State was not to be in the Big Ten championship game, they would be next up in that division. And if that game is not played, and then all of a sudden, and I knew this was coming, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy, I knew this was coming, enough games are going to be canceled where 5 is going to be enough to get Big Ten championship Ohio State gets in the game.
Well, I mean, you know, you mentioned the Michigan AD already saying, well, we didn't foresee. Like, how do you not foresee it? Like, I love it when people say,
that comment is the most hypocritical thing I've ever heard.
When people say things this year of like, we didn't foresee. You didn't foresee an unpredictable virus that nobody's gotten a handle on, and the only solution is us getting inoculations and vaccines done. You didn't see this being a problem, jackass. Come on. Like, that's clown. That's a clown question, bro.
Yeah, a lot of people having to, cover their own decision-making or backsides in some ways. I think the way the Big Ten handled this was a joke from the outset. I think that proved out to be the case as this is, played out. And, now it is what it is. And I'd imagine that there's going to be some way or another that Ohio State ends up in that game, or in that playoff, I should say, somehow, even with or without a conference championship game. I figure they'll make it work and get that extra, however many millions of dollars that is. I mean, that's one thing the Big 12 is going to miss out on. And if I was Mack, I get what he said earlier about, well, you politic if you're Ohio State in the Big 10 right now. But if I was him, I would also be kind of pissed, because if they do sneak their way in, whether or not Ohio State deserves it or not, all those Big 10 schools are getting a chunk of money for them making the playoff that the Big 12 schools are not going to get.
Yeah.
And the Big 12 was sitting there like, let's play right out of the gates. And the Big 10 is like, no, let's not even have let's not only not play right now, let's not play at all. Let's not have a season. That's what the Big 10's original message was. And now they're trying to force a team into the playoff.
Michigan AD Ward Manuel opened about conversation to allow Ohio State to play in the Big 10 title. We made decision months ago that, not knowing where this virus would take us, I don't think anyone should be punished by decisions we made months ago. Decisions that they were not going to play.
Okay, so if that's the rule, then I don't want to gain weight when I eat a Twinkie. I don't think I should gain weight when I eat a Twinkie.
God,
there should be no consequences when I do that. I should be able to make whatever decisions I want, and when things change, I should be able to say, oh, well, I didn't anticipate this.
Well, welcome to America.
And look, I think there are ADs like our friend Mack Rhoades who, when I called him, he said, look, I literally just got off of Zoom. Like, I hit end meeting and the phone rang when I called him today. Okay, so there are people like Mack who are going from Zoom meeting to conference call, trying to make this work. And then there are other ones who, like, if Matt called them and said, hey, I've got a question for you, busy? Like, nah, I've just been sitting here in the office. I think that's the problem. I think you have people who are active and trying to solve this problem, and others who have just said, well, I'm just going to let it ride until there's an answer given to me, and I don't want to be part of the solution. I'm just gonna wait for it.
Yeah, it just really bothers me that they're going to somehow benefit when they were the ones trying to prevent it all from happening to begin with.
If there was a Big 12 team at 5-0,
they should get in over any Big 10 team, in my opinion.
If there's a Big 12 team that was 5-0, and let's just say Ohio State was 10-1. Can you imagine trying to match those two things up? Even if it was Oklahoma or Texas, brand names. Iowa State's sledgehammering people right now.
Look, I think Ohio State is a better team than Iowa State. I think if you player for player, but don't you have to?
But we also thought that USC was the greatest college football team in the history of God.
But if Iowa State goes and beats Oklahoma again
and lost to Texas,
in spite of the fact that they lost to Oklahoma State and they lost to Louisiana earlier in the year, don't you have to consider a resume of a team that's played 10 games over a team that's played 5?
Ohio State lost to Purdue, and there were still people trying to get him in last year. Remember that the loss? This is what's so. If you want to why play the year? Why play the season if in the end we're going to look at the ones who just look better? And I get that Ohio State would probably even beat everybody that they play if they get a chance to. I'm not arguing how good they are. It's just so why even play the season? Why? The games, they don't matter. If head-to-head only matters some years and not other years, if data points only matter some years and other years, then why even do it? Go back to what it was like before, and you have two different national championships sometimes in the AP and UPI or coaches poll.
Yeah. By the way, college basketball game just went final. Number 5 Kansas over number 8 Creighton, 73-72.
Wow. Craig, you've been watching this story. I don't know how much you've read into this, but Fort Hood today, man, that's national.
Yeah. I mean, Fort Hood is national, and, they have had some major issues. I was actually listening to a favorite crime podcast that I listen to weekly just a couple of days ago, and they had just come out with a brand new, hour-long episode that was entirely on Fort Hood over the last year. And Vanessa Guillen was a centerpiece to that story because she's really the story that really kind of kicked everything off, I guess, as far as attention goes, even though there were multiple examples or multiple people, multiple stories that could have done that at some point. Hers finally kind of like the flashlight finally got into the dark areas, right, with her story. And yeah, so the Army Command and all of that, they did internal review. A bunch of investigators came onto Fort Hood's land, I guess a couple weeks back or whenever that was, did hundreds of interviews, especially with a lot of the female soldiers. And they found that basically there was a massive culture problem there, especially for female soldiers, especially with sexual harassment, assault, all that kind of jazz. And so four, I believe, top of the food chain type of leaders there in Fort Hood have been relieved, and then there are several others who I think are getting some type of a suspension of some sort. But yeah, I mean, a guy that we met the last time we were out at Fort Hood, who was the commanding officer of the entire base. He was one of those four that was let go today. I shook his hand like a year and a half ago. He was like already 1 foot out the door to go to the new job in El Paso at Fort Bliss or something like that. Yeah. And that's not going to happen because he's been relieved along with 3 others. And so, yeah, it's wild. I mean, I think everybody kind of knows, like with the military and things like that, there can be issues that arise, and there have been plenty of issues in the past, but this is something that's right in the backyard, and major news today, that's for sure, is the cleaning of house there at Fort Hood.
All right, thanks to a lot of different people today. Armstrong, great job today doing what you do on an everyday basis. We appreciate you weaving in a couple of additions to what we had today as well. David Robinson, D-Rob on Des Bryant and back in the NFL and the Cowboys tonight. Grant Teaff, Hall of Fame everything.
Doesn't feel like there's a Cowboys game tonight.
I know.
But hey, I'm all for it.
And it's weird because it's Tuesday, but this is kind of becoming the norm. Jackson player at Tulsa, Midway star. Mack Rhoades, Franklin High's Mark Fannin. David Hellman couldn't join us today. We'll try to get him later in the week. Kyle Keller of SFA on the game tomorrow with SFA and Baylor. And John McClain of the Houston Chronicle as well. All right, Cowboys.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Cowboys lose by 13.
Okay, Craig?
I think the Ravens win probably by a couple scores.
Maybe they get them at the wrong time. If they would have gotten them last week, who knows? Because the Ravens were a mess last week with all the issues, and Lamar Jackson appears to play, and it's unfortunate RG3 on the injured reserve yet again. Thanks to Armstrong Sim, our great sponsors. A lot of you today on the text line, the chat room brought to you by Willis Law Firm. I'm David Smoke. Thank you for listening and watching Sic'Em365 Radio. Have a great night. Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'Em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has been proudly serving Texans across the state for over 60 years. Call 254-772-8090 to find an agent who will provide a free review of your auto, home, and life coverage.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 34.